What do you know? Hello, crime stuffers. Oh man, that light screws everything up. That's okay. 11:20 instead of 10:10. Okie dokie. Here we're gonna share some screen, and I'm gonna try not to get into too much trouble because I was thinking I should record this instead of going live. But I'm claiming fair use, by the way. Let us share screen. There you go. There you go. And then that's this. All right. So rather than making comments, and look, there's 193 comments, only 13,000 views. This is a nation of hundreds of millions of people. 13,000 people are seeing this. And my video, maybe 100 people will see this. So I said the fuck I like. Let's see here. And I'll try not to be too lascivious because this woman is hot. Oh my God. Anyway, but that's like denigrating. That's nothing compared to the intellect. She's smart. Wisdom is something that's acquired with age, but she's definitely smart. And you want your daughter to grow up like this. You definitely would rather have this as a role model than some of the other things that are out there. And on top of that, she's smoking hot. But even if she wasn't smoking hot, you'd want your daughter to have this intellect and to be able to explain and elucidate and use rhetoric to validate points and push back on others. Anyway, I'm claiming fair use. Let's see if I even got this thing rolled up here. Can you see them? Oh, yes, you can see them. See, that's why I don't care about the thing in the background. I'm just commentary. What you're wanting to see and hear is this. Okay. Make comments and be ridiculous like I always am.
This is The Real Story with Michelle McCory.
Hello, I'm Michelle McCory. Thank you so much for joining us here on MFM. You're watching The Real Story, where we go beyond the headlines, beneath the surface, and behind the curtain to show you what is really happening with money, markets, and power. And right now, something historic is happening in the metals market. Silver has exploded past $52 an ounce and over $53 per ounce in the London physical spot trading. Volt.
Oh God, this is going to kill me. Only because I usually watch everything on 2x speed. And actually, should I do that? I guess I should make it 2x speed. I was thinking, well, we'll watch it at regular speed and then I'll make comments. And then, because if you watch me at 2x speed, then she'll be 4x speed and then you can't understand. Yeah, so no, I won't do that. But this is going to kill me listening to her at regular speed. But all right, fine.
In London are being drained, premiums are widening, and traders are whispering the words no one has dared say in decades: delivery failure.
Okay. We're going to say the quiet parts out loud. And actually, you know what? Let's just keep going. But the idea here is, my friends, they're going to dance all around what's going on and they're never going to say it. I'm going to tell you what they're not going to say. And maybe not. Maybe they actually, but I don't believe that I'm smarter than Andy Schechtman, and I don't believe that I'm smarter than this woman right here. However, she gives me no clue. All she wears is a silver chain. She generally wears the same kind of clothes. Purple's a nice color. Green is not your color, young lady. Especially that lime yucky green. No, red and black. But she doesn't. I mean, it's actually almost offensive. Like it's the brain you want here, and she's got one. Listen to what she has to say. She does a little she-splaining, but that's because she knows how fucking stupid most of the sheep are. So she explains backwardation and a few other concepts so that the common folk can keep up.
Now, this may be more than just another price spike. It feels like a structural break or shift in the global precious metal system.
Because it is.
Precious metals analysts have long cautioned about a potential imbalance between so-called paper and physical silver, and that imbalance now seems.
And then she's got that accent. Oh my God. This is pain.
To be surfacing as real pressure in the physical supply chain. Meanwhile, gold has also been surging, now passing well over $4,100, over 58% year to date. And this is all happening so quickly and so dramatically that we had to interrupt Andy Schectman's vacation in Aruba.
And I believe he is actually vacationing in Aruba, and I think he's a little hungover. But this is how big of a fucking deal this is. And that's why I'm doing this now too, because I was going to wait till Sunday, but by Sunday, everything is going to be different than it is today.
To bring him on and help us make sense of it all. Andy, thank you so much for joining us and taking some time off from your valuable holiday in Aruba.
You know, I live in Florida, Michelle, so Aruba isn't as doesn't have the novelty it once did when I lived in Minnesota. So this is one of those markets and one of those times where I'm glad to be here and glad to bust away. So thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so but that alone says something about how serious this moment is. Granted, the climate is very similar to your home climate, Florida, where I'm at right now. But we did have silver smashing through $50 for the first time in 45 years, going over $52, hitting over $53 in London markets. You have decades of experience in precious metals markets, as we know. How unusual is what we're seeing? What do you make of all of this?
It's really very unusual. Really, what is so unusual, Michelle, above many other things, is the resiliency that we see with the spot price. They will, like, for example, on Friday, if I'm not mistaken, it was Friday, they knocked it down.
See, this is him, me, everybody else. We all watch them. Oh, wait, let me
Down hard.
Slightly more flattering pause. The spot price is ahead of the futures price, and they knocked it down by a couple, and it came right back. And go look at the charts. They don't lie. They have been trying hard to knock the price down, and they are not succeeding for the first time ever. Or, well, they're succeeding, but what's happening? Well, I'll tell you what's happening. Every time they knock it down, somebody buys. And who's somebody? Well, might be India, might be China, might be Russia, might be Brazil, might be China. We'll get to China in a minute. We are at war. They just tried to kill us. Nobody like to admit the fact, but they just tried to kill us by using good old-fashioned American hubris against the Americans. And scared them to death, and they all rolled up their sleeves like some crazy number, like 70% of these idiots. Okay, that was planned. That was not okay. Let's not nuke them. Let's not land on the beaches because they all own guns. So let's not do any of that. Let's get them to roll up their sleeves in Hawaii 4 fucking times. Double vaxxed and double boosted. Hey, 100 Monkey, I'm double vaxxed and double boosted. You're not double vaxxed and double boosted. You're gonna kill my grandma. We're all double vaxxed and double boosted. In fact, you know what? We're double vaxxed and double boosted, and you won't get double vaxxed and double boosted. So you got to move. Okay. Anyway, the point being is that was a coordinated attack, not using bullets. Okay, the Chinese, they don't like us, but you know who they really don't like? They really fucking hate the British bankers. Kind of like Trey Parker and his buddy with South Park, right? Where they say they hate the Republicans, but they really fucking hate the Democrats. Okay, they hate the Americans, but they really, really fucking hate the Brits, the British bankers, the City of London. Okay. So they have a plan, and the plan is coming to fruition. And they're going to talk all about the plan without mentioning the plan. Because it's like Fight Club, I guess. The first rule of Fight Club. But the idea is the Chinese are taking down the British bankers. Because fuck them. If you know the history, am I going to explain it to you? She could explain it to you. He could explain it to you too. The Chinese sold the Brits goods and services, mostly goods, at fair value in trade where both sides had a contract. The Chinese, porcelain, silk, spice, all kind of stuff. And they demanded payment in silver. Fair and fucking square. This drained the silver from the West to the East, and the West resented it. So they decided they're going to get it back. How did they get it back? The way they got it back was by force and selling drugs, particularly opium, but also heroin, and then demanding nothing but silver in repayment, thus taking the silver back from the Chinese and bringing it back to Great Britain, where it currently resides in a place we call the LBMA. That would be the London British Metals Association. It's an exchange. Be careful who you associate with. Okay, the Chinese hate them and understand that the bankers' Achilles heel is silver. Let us continue with our story.
A couple of dollars, under 50, into the $49 range. And just like that, by Tuesday or Monday night, last night, it was at $53.30 spot price. Now that would have been in Asia trading. And
$53.30. 5330. Just want to point that out.
now they've knocked it down again today, trying to mitigate its rise. And today, right now, we are, where are we? We're right around 5160 or so, climbing back up. The strength that it is exhibiting in the face of continued attacks on it and a huge backwardation, something I've never seen before, as much as a $3 spread between the spot market, the OTC market.
You know, I think I'm older than Andy Schectman. And yes, and the whole time I've been watching the market, I've never seen this either. And I've been watching this thing since the 80s. Never seen. 10 cents in backwardation is a big fucking deal. $3? Okay. The reason why he's making this video, the reason why she's making this video, the reason why I'm making this video is because I don't think we can stress enough how big of a damn deal this is. This is not like before. This time it is different. $3 fucking. Okay, and then not only that, they were milkshaking the silver because they're like, hey, we'll pay an extra $1.50, and fucking a lot of people were giving them in Shanghai silver for an extra $1.50. Okay, further. Oh, well, actually, they're going to explain it, so I don't have to just be repeating what they're going to say.
And the December futures contract. This shows a massive stress in the system. Unprecedented strain, to your point. It is unprecedented.
Unprecedented. Never been seen before. This is new.
And it's not just volatility, Michelle. It's kind of, to me, it's the market exposing the shortage of physical silver and the fragility of the paper promises. I think this is something that is far more than just a one-off I've never seen before.
And just to clarify for the viewers not familiar with the term, backwardation means that the spot price of silver, the price for immediate delivery, is higher than the futures price, the price for delivery at a later date. And normally the future price for silver, the price for delivery down the line, is a little higher than the spot price, which is what you'd pay to get it right now. And that makes sense because storing and insuring physical silver, costs money. So people pay more for it, in the future. But when the opposite happens, as we're seeing now, when spot trades above the future price, as you said, that's called backwardation. And that means that people want the silver now. That means that they're not trusting the system, that they don't fully trust the paper promises as you. But give us a broader outlook of what is beyond that driving this price surge in silver? Because as I've mentioned earlier, it's up over 78%. For those that have not been following the silver saga, give us more of a background of what this means, how we got here.
Well, I mean, first of all, what it tells me is more than anything is that buyers aren't just rolling contracts over the way they used to. They're standing for delivery. They're demanding the real metal. And to me, the takeaway is that the rush for physical gold and silver is real and it's intense. It's just aren't trading paper contracts any longer. They want metal in hand. Now, this is
See, now, why do they want metal in it? Because they can't build products with paper. And we've been talking about the fact, I have been talking about the fact that they haven't had the silver. And this guy has been stocking it away. And then one day he's going to be out. But they haven't had the silver for quite some time. They've had many, many paper contracts, but the underlying amount of silver could nowhere near cover the contracts. We all know it. Okay, so they've been keeping the price down artificially, and people have been settling with FRNs, and the Chinese went, I see an opportunity. Okay, and then the fentanyl, don't forget about that part, because they're getting us back for the heroin and the opium, mostly the opium, but opium, heroin, what's the difference? The idea is that they still mad. We're at war, and this is how they get the LBM. This is how they get the British bankers. And HSBC is going down. Because HSBC was the bank that I believe they will be the first one to go. But maybe not. We'll see. There's going to be, and see, they're all too big to fail. And we can't bail them out. They're underwater, $680 billion right now? Unrealized losses. And then this is just silver. What about the real estate market? What about? But we'll stick to this one topic, which is silver. But on the grand scheme of things, the Chinese are exacting revenge on a common enemy. I don't know if you noticed, but there's these Masons in the city known as Washington, D.C., and they have subjugated the entire North American continent. Okay, their masters are the people in the city of London. That is the other star. And then the other star is the Vatican. But these three city-states have been basically controlling the world. It's the last vestiges of the Roman Empire. And it's amusing because my younger boy, finally figured out that the Romans weren't the good guys. Most of the time, the Romans were atrocious. Caesar was a murderer. In fact, he wasn't just a murderer. He was what's the word I want? Mass murderer doesn't cover it. Genocider? Is there such a word? He was a causer of genocides. Millions died at his hand. But anyway, the Romans, not the good guys. Fast forward, the Roman Empire now is the city of London, the Vatican, and the military arm, which is Washington, D.C. All controlled by tiny hat Khazarians. But in the city of London. Okay, they have subjugated America. They have subjugated India. They have made enemies of everyone. They have subjugated Brazil and the Americas, South America, Canada, everything. And they have also, and of course, Europe. Okay, and then there's these Russians that they just can't seem to subdue. Africa, South Africa, the Muslims, some of the older cultures like Persia, the Saudis, which are the Bedouins. Anyway, the idea is that they made enemies of every fucking buddy. And now every fucking buddy coming down on them. How are they going to come down on them? With silver. let us continue the story because they're going to explain it and never tell you what I just said. But what's going to happen at some point in the near future? Talking about this is thirsty work. So some liberal tears would be delicious. Oh, I never know how I do this. Anyway, this one is very good. It's delicious. And I can't figure out how to consistently make it. Sometimes it tastes like that, and sometimes it doesn't taste. But if I can consistently make that, I will put it in jars and sell it as liberal tears and make some money because that's freaking delicious. I don't care who you are. Anyway, and it's good for you. It's all minerals and protein and collagen and all kind of stuff, and it's delicious. Can I get a witness? Is my tea delicious? No answer. Okay, so the idea is that what we're going to have here is all of them, and it's going to be like the Chinese 3, 2, 1, go. All of them standing for delivery all at once. And then what happens? None of us know.
It's multiplied by delivery stream. You and I have talked at length since November. We've seen a continual influx of metal coming into the COMEX market. And you can blame it on tariffs or blame it on arbitrage or blame it on whatever you want. I don't believe any of that. I think this is much deeper. It's not as deep. Even the Bloomberg article that says that there are ships that are being loaded up to send silver over to London, I don't believe that at all. As a matter of fact, I think that's spin doctoring, kind of to buy some time for the LBMA. If silver was so plentiful, they wouldn't need a PR scheme to tell us about the silver that's heading over there. I don't believe it at all. But when you talk about exacerbating what's happening, we've already seen almost 17 million ounces of silver delivered into COMEX in the month of October. And when you see a London spot silver price at a $3 premium to the New York futures, a spread that hasn't been seen maybe ever, at least since the Hunt brothers in 1980, and borrowing cost in London that has spiked to 100% annualized, worse than the 1980 panic. What this tells us is that the demand for physical silver at the highest level. We've talked about the central banks buying it. We've talked about China buying it and flying around the world and buying doré and concentrate. We've talked about Russia and their really massive acquisition of silver over the last 5-6 years. We've talked a lot about Saudi Arabia and their fund, who just bought a few $100 million worth of SLV. And that sucks in and of itself that it was September at the level they paid or bought, they can stand for delivery.
Yeah. Remember that minor detail that they can stand for delivery. Because you're right, that the money that they put into SLV will go to do what? What would they do with that money that they put into SLV? The Saudis know what they're going to do with that money. They're going to go short even more. They can't help themselves. They only have one play in their fucking playbook. So the Saudis are like, hey, we want to buy silver and let's see here. We want to buy it cheap. And we know, do you think the Saudis don't know that they're using SLV as their primary tool to short the silver market? Yes, I think they know this. We're playing chess here, and the West is losing because they're greedy and stupid and evil, and their comeuppance is coming. The Chinese and the Saudis and the Saudis. Okay. Like, if you know your history, they're going to slit some throats, figuratively speaking. But the Saudis are famous for being cutthroat. Are they not? Even among their own families. They just had a little cleanup crew where these people were related to each other, and go take a look at what happened. And now the one guy has aligned himself. Oh, and all right, let's continue on.
We've talked about Russia adding it to their strategic stockpile.
Russia. Does Russia have an issue with the Bolsheviks and the Jews? Do they? And do the remnants and part of that crew reside in the city of London? And do the tendrils of their banking have to do with much of what's going on in Ukraine, which was a money laundering operation and probably one of the most corrupt states in the history of the world that we know about. And currently, they're like, gearing up to try to use Ukraine as a launching pad to attack Russia. You want peace? Buy silver. It's that simple. Now, here's the thing. If you know the history, all of these people have righteous anger against the LBMA, which is the representation of the British bankers. And those British bankers aren't necessarily British. It's just the city of London. They're Zionists. Many of them wear tiny hats. They've been taken over by the tiny hats. And it's too much to get into the concept of them worshiping. They worship elder gods. They think Christ, the Jesus Christ, is the bad guy. If you know anything about me, I'm not the Jesus guy, but I am the Christ guy. And the idea that these blood-sucking morons worship the morning star. They put their colors all over the place and let you know who it is they worship. And it's not the Christ. These are not good people. Okay. We have no friends in this fight. However, it is a common enemy. And I am not one of those who believes that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy of my enemy is still my enemy, who is enemies with one of my enemies. And if I can support my enemy in taking out one of my enemies, I will. But that doesn't make us friends. Further, if they can destroy each other, better for me. Okay, that's the divide and conquer that the West has used against the entire world, and it's now being used against them. And it turns out they got no friends.
And lo and behold, we find the United States, the U.S. government, who wouldn't know a silver coin if it fell on their foot, it seemed all of these years, have now reclassified silver as a critical mineral. They have put a floor under the price of silver. So when you put all of this together and then add into it the most sophisticated traders on Wall Street, bringing metal in at the levels that they are, that is what is driving this. And in an environment where the LBMA, according to David Jensen, someone that you need to get on our show, David Jensen is amazing. And no one talks about the LBMA backdrop the way David does. And I think it's really very important we get him on. But what he's been saying lately is that there's 140 million ounce float of silver in London, meaning that's the amount of silver backing the contracts. The other silver they have there, the other 500 million or so ounces belong to the ETFs. So the only metal that is available, supposedly unencumbered, and who knows how much of it is unencumbered, when they already told us last year that they overstated those numbers by 100 million ounces at
Just
the
100
LBMA.
million.
But if we take them at their face value, 100 million ounces, according to David Jensen, trading 600 million ounces a day in deliverable contracts. What could possibly go wrong? We have an environment where the exchanges and the paper promises are being usurped and passed on, even at large premiums right now, where if you sent your metal, if you bought a contract on futures and sent it to London at a $3 spread, that's a big arbitrage. And there will be some players that do that. But I don't think the smart money, even at a $3 per ounce premium to send it to London, really wants to do that, because silver is becoming far more valuable than the currency that is used to buy it or to sell it.
Well, a lot to unpack there. And again, we've talked about this before, but I want to try and simplify things, break it down to a more basic level for viewers that are not as familiar with the metals market as we are. And, I think it's important to explain the term failure to deliver, because that's come up 7 days.
Okay, well, never mind. We'll let her. Let's go.
For the audience, what does that actually mean? What happens if it occurs? What does that signify?
Well, I mean, it signifies that if the metal is not delivered, Silver doesn't just move higher; it gaps higher. It's a complete and total breakdown in
So it means,
confidence.
sorry to interrupt you, it means we do not have the silver that we are supposed to, on paper, promise deliver to you, that we are contractually obligated to deliver to you. We do not have that physical silver. And I'm breaking this down to the most simple level so people understand why this is a major breach in trust.
See, she's trying to get the muggles to understand, and there's only 13,000 people watching, and actually I think she may slightly be misreading her audience, because we all know this, and there aren't too many new people because most of the muggles are stupid. So what she's hoping, and what they're both hoping, I think, is that you guys might share this video, not this video, not the video I'm making, the video that we're watching, because nobody wants to see me or hear what I have to say, but these two. And see, and then here's the other thing. Again, they go through all of this, and she goes through all of this explaining and talks about all this other stuff, but she doesn't talk about the fact that we're at fucking war with the Chinese. And we don't hold the cards. They have righteous anger, and it looks like we're going to lose this one. Okay, who's this we stuff? We got a mouse in your pocket, and I got a cat in my lap. But the idea is, the Chinese are about to exact revenge. Now, if you are on the right side of this trade, you're going to be very happy because they're going to blow up the dollar. They're going to fuck these bankers hard. How this all plays out, well, I don't know. I expect they'll survive. They always do. But they may not be the money masters that they used to be when the dust settles, is the point. Because what happens when they have to realize they're going to file bankruptcy? Sit back and meditate on the ramifications of the largest banks going, and there goes the credit system. Okay, now here's the other thing I talk about and Bill Holter talks about this, is when this all blows up, you're not going to be able to pump gas. How are you going to get food off the shelves in a store in about 2 weeks? Because that all depends on credit. And see, there's some people that don't understand what's going on here, and they think that, the government doesn't. Well, the government doesn't want you to panic and die, or maybe they do, but that's a whole other story. But the Chinese, for fuck sure, don't care. The American government might care. And by American government, I'm talking about the United States corporation, which has proven consistently that they don't care. They got a depot program going on in full effect. There's a whole other video. There's some woman named Catherine Austin Fitts and a guy named Ed Dowd who used to work for BlackRock and who are both on Maui. And I've talked about this before. I should have been in that room, but I wasn't. But a friend of mine was, and it's amusing because I knew more when she described who was there. I knew more people in the room than she did. But anyway, I'm here in Phoenix, not there on Maui. And they basically said in no uncertain terms that there are certain things that they can't say in their videos. But the bottom line is Depop. Do I need to explain what Depop is? I don't think I need to explain what Depop is. Michelle could explain it to you. Anyway, but she is, I think, not understanding exactly who watches her videos, because this is not widespread. There's 13,000 people watching it, and we're all pretty hep to the story. But it would be great if you did, in fact, get this video in front of people who are not hep to the story. Like my next door neighbor, I talked to her today, and she said, okay, I took what you said into consideration, and I'm not telling you how much silver I got. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't want to know how much silver you got. I just want to know that you got silver. Because I just kind of like her. She's got dogs and just a regular, it never bothers. So anyway, I just took a moment and it took a while, because when I first started talking to her about it, it was 40. And by the time it got to 50, she started realizing, my crazy next door neighbor might not be so crazy after all. And maybe I should, in fact, because she's a businesswoman and, she said she invests in stocks and so forth. I'm like, well, silver's done better than stocks, and so has gold. Only just recently, but I mean, over the long period of time, compare return of S&P 500 to return in rocks, gold rocks. And I think you will find that the rocks did better. Anyway, let's
The
continue.
system, right? So
Yeah. If the shorts can't deliver, Michelle, the paper game ends immediately and silver explodes higher. The day a short cannot deliver.
Explode. That's the only words we have. We have the only words that we have are understatements about what's about to happen. And all these people. Okay, and then actually, let's see. I'll stop interrupting.
Is the day that silver breaks free. No delivery, no trust. That's when silver goes vertical, and if the LBMA fails to deliver, it's not a dip; it's a liftoff for silver. And the whole system is based upon promises to deliver. And if you can't deliver, it's the same thing as a force majeure or a default. And the whole system, which is systemically connected, the contagion that would come out of that would be extraordinary. And that is the $1 million question, and where things get really bullish for silver. So yeah, could it happen? It's never been closer to, by all appearances, to happening, and more so in London than in the COMEX.
And we'll get there. You mentioned that we've got that $3 premium between inventories in New York's COMEX futures and London, right? And to that end, we've got reports that metal is being airshipped between vaults from the US to the UK just to plug the gaps. What does that tell you about where we are in the cycle here?
I don't believe it. I mean, I think some of it is, yes. I think that there is some metal that is moving that way. But I think that that's more a PR campaign. I think that, yes, there's always going to be some commercial bank arbitrage that we're seeing right now, where they're able to, by sending it to London, capitalize on that spread. But I don't think that's really what is happening, to be honest with you. I think that is a PR campaign by Reuters and by Bloomberg to kind of say, hey, everything is okay. That metal, look, there is not a chance in hell that the metal can move over there fast enough to meet these demands. You're going to see lots of margin calls and unwinding of positions. And I think that it's just like they told us that silver was coming back here because of tariffs and arbitrage. I don't believe it. I think there is something much bigger at play here. And when the U.S. government reclassifies silver as a critical mineral, they're not going to be in a rush to send it over there to capitalize on some arbitrage. Yeah, you're talking millions of dollars. So what? I mean, I don't mean to say it or manner that way, but I think the big noise about sending silver to London isn't strength. It's a cover story to calm nerves. And if supply...
Bam. That is, see, that's the quiet part out loud right there. This is the quiet part out loud. It's a cover story, because bullshit. Are you kidding me? They just reclassify it as a critical mineral. Oh, let's send it to London and maybe not get it back. Really? That is it. See, what they're counting on is that the people have been so dumbed down that they don't have logic, reasoning. They can't do critical thinking. They can't have logic and reasoning and work there. And see, and here's the other part. Again, not this video, but the video that we're watching. Show it to your daughters.
I were just fine. They wouldn't need this PR push. This is a Band-Aid. This is not a cure. Moving a few shipments around buys time, but it doesn't solve the core problem, and that is that there's not enough silver in the right place at the right time.
Or enough silver at all. There's not enough silver, period.
These shipments are not proof at all of silver strength. They're proof of silver stress, in my opinion. And the louder the headlines, the tighter the market really is. And we saw that, Michelle, with all the nonsense that was coming out of the mainstream, like Reuters and like Bloomberg, when all this stuff was coming in. They were saying, oh, it's arbitrage. BS it is. Oh, it's tariffs. BS it is. There's something bigger at play here. And you know what it is? In my mind, this is, for 40 years, the United States bet on a strategy. They bet on a strategy of a strong dollar, U.S. bonds, service jobs, while ignoring factories and commodities and gold and silver, while China did the opposite. It built factories, it stockpiled commodities like gold and silver, and it stayed away from relying on the dollar. And what you are seeing right now, in my opinion, is confidence in the U.S. dollar, really more than anything, disappearing.
He doesn't mention the fact that we're at war, and he doesn't mention the fact that what we're seeing is the Chinese fulfilling a well-laid plan that they've been working on for, 12 decades now, more than that. Because the Chinese are patient and they play the long game, and they are about to slam the door. They're about to do the checkmate move. They're about the coup de grace. They're about the sword is going to come down. On the Brits, on the British bankers, on the City of London and the City of London's back. We'll see if they break it or not. But that's the plan. Clearly, that's the plan, is to use the silver bullet. And he talks about other stuff, but he doesn't mention this. I'm not smarter than this man.
It's kind of like we call our dollar currency, but it's more like a piece of ice sitting out here on patio here in Aruba. It doesn't last long. It's melting. The value of the dollar is melting, and I think all of these things put together signal to me that this is far deeper than what the headlines want us to believe, especially on places like Bloomberg and Reuters.
Okay, to that point, let's zoom out and connect this to some of the bigger macro trends that you and I have been discussing. And obviously, the de-dollarization trend being one of them, the bifurcation of the global monetary system, China and the global south trying to position themselves away from the dollar. And I want to give some background to our viewers here. The London Bullion Market Association, or LBMA, is really the heart of global gold and silver trading. It is not an exchange like the COMEX. It's an over-the-counter system that connects central banks and bullion banks and institutional players around the world. And it sets the standards for good delivery bars. And even though a lot of trading is in what is called unallocated metal and paper claims, as we've been discussing, rather than specific bars, the LBMA effectively underpins global pricing, settlement, and ultimately trust in the precious metal system. And now we're really seeing that trust being tested, Andy. And there's, as we've been discussing, a major squeeze in silver right now. Vault inventories in London have dropped sharply. Spot premiums, as we've been discussing, have widened. And we're hearing allegedly that the banks are rushing to fly in physical bars to meet the delivery demands. You have some question marks on that one. But all of this comes, and this is the critical point, at a time when confidence in the LBMA's ability to meet physical delivery is being questioned. And that has ripple effects across the entire monetary system, because effectively the LBMA is representative of the Western-led financial system.
And there you have it in a nutshell. Let's just give her
and at the same time, Andy, we have China.
I have the hardest time. There you go. That's a great shot. Is that not just like the most ridiculously beautiful woman? Jesus Christ. Anyway, and what did she just say? I get lost because you start. Anyway, she said a bunch of stuff, and you should rewind it and listen again if you got distracted somehow. But the idea is, everything she said is correct, and it's the West. This is the Western financial system that the Chinese are attacking. And it's not just the Chinese. The Chinese have enlisted allies, the BRICS. They came last, but Brazil, really, that's the least of them, Russia, and then India, and then China. Okay. India might have gone our way, but we've insulted them one too many times. If you don't know what I'm talking about, find out what I'm talking about. And we have pushed them basically into the arms of the Chinese. Okay. And again, we got no friends in this fight, and there are no friends in this fight. We have no allies. And when I say we, I'm talking about the common person, those like say have 5-star passports, the very, very, very few Americans. What we are watching, Americans, what you should be doing is sitting back with silver in your hands, as this certain book admonished you to do, so you can sit back and watch this show unfold as unscathed as possible. I've been talking about this for years and years, preparing for what's about to happen, probably before Christmas. There's a chance that they push it off past Christmas because they actually do have this thing about Saturn and so forth, and they want to have a good time, and so they don't want to be Debbie Downers during the Christmas season. Anyway, you know, as they're sacrificing children and doing all the things the Saturners do at Saturn's time of year. And it's all starting. Here we are. We're coming right up on it. What are we coming? What's October 31st? Well, let's have kids running around commercials and candy and so forth. But that's not what they're doing. I assure you that's not what they're doing. That is a high holy day for people who worship elder gods with blood sacrifice. Okay, and then we move into the Saturn season of wintertime. And these fucktards really believe that if they don't sacrifice blood, the days won't get longer again. There are those, not all of them, but there are those that believe that that's true, that if they didn't do this, Ziggy disagrees, but if they didn't do this, or maybe that was actually confirmation. Can I get a yellow? Yes. That the days would continue short and winter would win, and we wouldn't come back from the solstice. Anyway, and the solstice is that one, and midsummer is the two times, those two solstices. Anyway, not the equinoxes, right? Not the spring and the summer, it's the solstices. Those are the big ones. Anyway, we're coming up on them, and then try to understand that it's not just like the Chinese are no saints in this. They also worship elder gods. My boys were in temples in Asia. They worship the bad guys also. They just don't tell you. It's all Buddha. Oh, look, we're worshiping Buddha. But they also worship the elder gods. And if you know your signs and symbols, you can walk into a temple like my sons did, look around and go, oh, it's Lucifer Morningstar, the hero with 1,000 faces. Okay, there's a fight going on a spiritual level with this. There's a fight going on the secular level. There's a fight going on. There's a fight going on. And we're in the middle of it. And the guys that look like they're going to win are Chinese. Because they have allied themselves. And who we got? We got a United States corporation, the City of London, and their corporations, which are pretty, it's the money. That's all the money. Rothschilds and such. And then the Pope, the Vatican, we're not even talking about the Vatican, but they're no slouches. They have a bit of gold. And I think Trump made it pretty clear. I think he even, Miracle Ear Man said, he who has the gold makes the rules. Good old Aesop Trump.
Clearly positioning itself as a major player in the space through the Shanghai Gold Exchange.
Clearly positioning itself as a major player. No, clearly taking down the LBMA and fucking the people that sold their people heroin and opium for silver. Okay, nobody like talk. That's the quiet part out loud. She not talking about it. Andy not going to talk about it. And then we got all the Masonic brotherhoods and all the other stuff that goes on. Fuck all that. But the bottom line is, we're at war. You're watching the coup de grace. And they don't give a fuck if credit seizes. Take care of your damn cat. He's trying to distract me. Should I say that out? I can't say that out loud. Anyway, there's a slang for cat, and it's distracting me twice.
China has been encouraging central banks and so-called friendly nations to store their gold in Chinese vaults. They're offering yuan-denominated settlement. They're generally presenting the Shanghai Gold Exchange in China as a new global custodian for precious metals, an alternative to the Western system.
And why would that be? Because the West has,
And a point to make here is that the Shanghai Gold Exchange deals with physical metal.
There you go. And the West has fucked that trust. They have fucked all their friends. We have stolen now, what, $360 million from the Russians? Right? Okay. The bankers have no friends. And the Chinese are like, hey, we're the good guys. They're not, but we're going to do metals and we're going to be fair about it. And you're going to know what's in there. And we're not going to have paper contracts to suppress the price. And we're going to actually have a real exchange. Or you can go with these other guys. And the world knows, right? Everybody but us will be like, yeah, I think that's a good place. So let's put our gold there. Let's put our silver there. We can trust these guys. These other guys have already proven that they can't be trusted over and over and over again, lied to the American people about it. Meantime, the rest of the world knows what's fucking going on. You need to get outside with your happy passport, but only 6% of Americans even have a passport because it's such a grand country. I have traveled this country from Maine to Maui. I have been to if there's 20,000 people, if there was 20,000 people in the early 90s, I've been there. And many of those cities have grown spectacularly since in this last 30 odd years. But I'm telling you, what you're seeing is the coup de grace. And it's going to be glorious, but not if you're on the side getting your throat slit. And see, this is the other thing. Even among Americans, there are quite a few of us that are relishing what comes. We're loving watching this. Even though I like my Federal Reserve, I like the system that we have now, and I'm going to be a little upset when I can't buy gas and hamburger is $300 a fucking pound. But the leech is about to get pulled off, and the American coward people with our 600 million guns are not going to be the ones that pull the leech off. It's going to be the Chinese. In fact, most of the Americans can't even tell that there is a leech. They don't even know where their fucking tax dollars go. People like me that tell you that, yeah, it winds up through the City of London into the Vatican coffers. Your income tax, interest on the debt. Because the bankers, remember, they loan the money to us at interest. Who are the bankers? These guys in the City of London who own the American corporation, which prosecutes slavery, the most peculiar profession. And the Chinese are about to put a bullet in them made out of silver. Because the Chinese and the Russians have figured out, and the Indians and the Brazilians and the South Africans and the Persians and the Saudi Arabians and the fucking Turks and the Africans have all figured out that it's either us or them. So, of course, they're choosing them. And them has a history of genocide and, again, slavery, debt slavery, slavery through addiction and drugs. They worship the elder god. And then they get the young men all fired up with some patriotism. Who owns our media? And then those that came out of India and worship Kali and tricked these young men into putting on costumes and killing each other. If you want peace, buy silver. Because the people that prosecute these wars and this slavery require huge amounts of silver to make their weapons of war, many of which find their way onto the heads of babies and animals and women just as beautiful as this. If you want peace, buy silver. Sell your fucking Bitcoin. If you want peace, buy silver. Take your stocks, liquidate them, and buy silver. Who's going to do that? Very few. Is this financial advice? Andy fucking Checkman, if you listen carefully, will tell you that he personally added to his stash at these prices because they understand that, yeah, $50, we're not even close, cuz $50 was 1980 money. You need $200 to make the same $50 as 1980 money. Sabe? No, you know sabe. So you're thinking that it's because I have heard guys that are smart tell me that it's overbought and that it should take a serious dip. It's not. And as he says, if it does, it will be very temporary. And the Chinese and Indians and the Saudi Arabians and the Turks, bro, the list is long, will all take advantage because they're all buying it. And see, what was happening, and he mentions it, and they alluded to it a couple of times, is the Chinese were getting it from the source. They were buying the doré. We now have problems all the way back to dirt. If the price skyrockets tomorrow, and it's not, and all the silver miners in North Idaho go, fuck yeah, we can start mining again. Yay. I can't get any of that silver in my hand 5, 6, 10 years. Fortunately, in Idaho, they got the fucking environmentalists under wraps. They pretty much bound them down. Right across the border in Washington and right across the border in Oregon, not so much. But and they don't have mines anyway. But in North Idaho, they will turn those mines on. But it's going to be years.
So when you look at the silver squeeze hitting London, right at the same time as China is trying to elevate the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And
well, what a coincidence. Are we at war, Michelle? Are you going to say? Nope, they're not going to say it out loud.
And expand its influence in bullion markets. I mean, it seems like it's a bit of coincidentally good timing. Wouldn't this kind of stress on the LBMA actually serve China's interests? And given the timing and the potential benefit to Beijing's broader strategy of challenging Western dominance in metals, in reserves, in the financial order, do you think that maybe China could have a potential role to play in all of this?
Maybe, possibly, perhaps. Could it be the Chinese might have something to do with this? She posits.
Are there really ever coincidences anymore at these levels? You know, the United States certainly is a very, very powerful, great country.
There are times when I wonder if it's all just scripted. Nah. But there are times when I do, in fact, wonder if it's all just scripted. Oh, look, somebody's making comment. Yes, absolutely it has. And it's not done yet. It's going vertical. And see, this is the thing. They can't tamp it down because everybody's demanding physical. They don't want paper. And now there's actually rumors, allegedly, there are people talking about the fact that they're saying that, okay, if you need metal for your industry, for industrial use, you will have priority over people that are just buying paper contracts. But there's going to be some guys that are like, no, we won't settle in paper. We want the metal. And eventually, and this is coming very shortly, the LBMA is not going to be able to deliver. We know this. unless they've got silver stashed or they've got something they can pull out of their ass, and I don't think they do. They are in the military. There's a term called RACF. What happened to that guy? Well, he's in RACF. RACF is royally and completely fucked. That would be RACF. It's not a bunk. Oh, there's this other term. How's it go? It goes, I believe it's a FUBAR. That's a FUBAR. They is FUBAR. Actually, not quite yet. You can still recognize them. But in about 2 weeks, you're not going to be able to recognize any fucking thing. Like, stuff's going to start blowing up. Oh, and then did we mention Martin Armstrong and his 100% chance, Socrates mentioning 100% chance nuclear war? 100%. Not 99.9, 100% chance nuclear war. No chance not nuclear war. Okay, that's a whole other thing. But see, the Chinese are going to devastate the West with silver first. And then let Europe and Russia throw missiles at each other. The Chinese could care less. Now, we'll care if some of our alliances kick in and some of those missiles wind up landing on American soil. We're going to care a lot. And we're going to care a lot if even so much as one nuke goes off in Europe. That's going to change every fucking thing. So anyway, the long story short here, and these guys aren't talking about it, is the fact that we are at fucking war. Many humans are going to die because of this. The trick was not to be one of them so that you could continue having offspring. See, I'm so happy because this one probably going to have offspring. And like I said, make your daughters watch this, not this video, but the video that we're watching. Because you want your daughters to be like this, where they have some critical thinking skills. And see, we have this whole full-on culture that says, if you look like that, you can't be smart. If you look like that, you got to be a bubblehead. If you look like this, you can't have anything tremendously intelligent to say, because we have a war on beauty. And used to be that, yes, the beautiful were also smart, but now they've tried to divorce that to the point where if she's beautiful, she must be an airhead. And if she's smart, she has to not look like this. Netflix, movies, TV. Right? The smart girl isn't the cheerleader. Find me a fucking movie throughout all of history where the cheerleader is the smartest girl. I know a cheerleader. I tutor her little brother. A 4.0 student and gorgeous. I dare say just because she's younger, but and it's 100% subjective. But the idea being is that a beautiful woman, again, and just barely a woman, just getting there. She's a cheerleader in Montana, oddly enough. But anyway, the idea is that we have this war against women and their intellects, because you're not going to be good looking and smart. Just like men, you can't be a muscle-bound geek, like, a bodybuilder, Arnold Schwarzenegger body, and be smart. I have a friend where he actually was insulted, and I said, that's why it's funny, because I made a joke about his intellect, and he's a big dude. But that's the idea, is that, yeah, because he's a big dude and a football player and all that stuff, he can't be smart. Anyhow, the point being is this woman right here, she's nailing it, but she isn't saying the quiet part out loud, because again, I'm not smarter than either one of these people you're looking at. And they're not mentioning the fact that we're at war and China is going to fuck the bankers using silver. And it's not just China. It's everybody that they fucked over centuries. But particularly in the last, 20 decades, maybe 15 decades. I believe they have bitten off more than they can chew. Okay, and these two apparently they don't like tell you that China is about to fuck. Okay, and that's not even a strong enough word. And they're not going to use bullets. Just like they got rid of quite a few in the West, and they didn't use bullets, they used needles and propaganda and mind control. And because they have so much money, what did they do? They bought many, many politicians in City of London and in Washington, D.C., and even in Italy. And the plan, you are seeing a well-laid plan come to fruition. Let us continue. Oh, wait, I gotta hit play on the...
But many of the nations whom are using commodities as a sidestep to the dollar and the treasury market hegemony and all this too. And to your point, the Shanghai Metals Exchange,
they're rallying against us. Translation, we're at war.
as you and I have talked about on many occasions, is not only trying to gain credibility and have other countries store their metal with them. Remember, they're in the process of building multi-jurisdictional vaults all around the world, starting first in Hong Kong, now in Saudi Arabia, and then ultimately through the Belt Road. Now, China, the second largest producer of silver in the world, David Morgan will tell you when he went to China, they tried to tell him they were number one. So number one or number two, number one in gold, yet they're flying all around the country, buying all around the world. Latin America, Peru, and Mexico primarily buying doré, which are crudely refined bars, and concentrate, the byproduct of the mining process, directly from these players, disintermediating the market right from the miners.
There's a fine use of English. Disintermediating. What do that mean? Okay, like I said, right there, from this horse's mouth, we have problems from the fucking exchanges all the way back to the ground.
Disintermediating the market and sending it all the way back to China on their expense, paying double what the West will to refine it themselves. These metals are becoming very critical to them. So yeah, why wouldn't they want this to happen, to allow the price to go much higher? And how do they do that? The same way I've been saying this since the first interview you and I did together years ago.
I can assure you the man was drinking the night before. He was partying, and now he got to get up and do an interview with a hot chick and be intelligent on fucking vacation. No, leave him alone. You can't catch a break.
They're draining the exchanges slowly and methodically. They're standing for delivery in London. The London Metals Exchange has the lowest amount of silver to float they've ever had.
Also, get those things out of your ears. It's frying your brain, literally.
And in the 140-year history of the exchange, at least since they started keeping records. And so they have been using the idiocy of the Western suppression system to beat us at our own game. The part that most analysts and most naysayers have a hard time justifying when we say this is that they haven't done it like that. Everyone in this country gratification, and if it's not fast enough, if it's not immediate, it ain't fast enough. That's their genius. Slowly enough to not rattle the bushes, but they've done a yeoman's job at that. Look at the countries involved: Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, India. They're all accumulating silver in their own way as fast as they can, but also gold. Not too fast.
Them both.
And many of the other.
And now wait a second. Did not Jab Daddy Miracle Ear take a little trip? And did he not go to every single country that he just mentioned? Do you remember that? Remember? I'm using the slang. Do you remember the fact that Trump, in fact, did go visit all of these countries, including China, including India and Saudi Arabia, okay, there's this. But anything I say now will just get me in trouble. Like, but the idea is that they're not fucking around. They're gonna kill these bankers one way or the other using silver. It's a war. Okay, we're not participating in the war. We're not in this club. But we're going to be affected by what happens in this war. And bro, I gotta kick things up a little bit here because see, oh my God, we're only 19 minutes in and this is an hour. Okay, I gotta shut up and let's let this thing run.
Other nations are too. So yes, this would, and the mistake that we make in this country is thinking that we are omnipotent and we have the ability to control everything. And you know what? As I've said with you before, these countries are now sophisticated, coordinated, motivated, and they have a plan that is methodical, a plan that drives the analysts in the West nuts because it's not in your face, bang. No, but take a step back. It's just like the title of my show, little by little by little by little by little, and then bang, all at once. And we haven't seen the all at once moment, but is this the beginning of it? Maybe, could be, don't know. But absolutely, to your point, this would benefit not just China, but all of the BRICS nations. To say they have a hand and to poo-poo it and say no way is as naive as a mud wall. It's absolutely, I think, very plausible that the Chinese have not only interest in seeing this, but are understanding that their actions and slowly exacerbating it ultimately is to their best interest.
To their best interest? Okay. To their best interest. I'll take it. They're gonna fuck the bankers in London.
So
that's their best interest.
Oh, Andy.
See, the best interest is survival. And again, if it comes down between us or them, it's always them. And so for the Chinese, them is the bankers in London. For the Saudi Arabians, who set up that Israeli state right at their doorstep? For the Turks, for the Egyptians, who we're not even talking about, for the Persians, who we're not talking about either, but who are also an empire that goes back long before there were any Masons thinking about crossing the ocean to make a nation on the North American continent. Persia was ruling large portions of the planet, and they're still there. And they're not going away anytime soon. But anyway, skip over that whole thing and move to the larger country, which is China. I can't stress enough. Okay, and further, I've been there. I'm not talking out my ass. I have been to Hong Kong. I have not been to Shanghai. I have been to Shenzhen. I have been among the common folk in Shenzhen, and I can tell you that they all know the story about the fucking British bankers addicting their people to heroin in return for silver. And now it's their turn. And this was the thing. This was around the turn of the century. This was all SARS and COVID. I was over there super cheap because everybody's afraid of SARS. Oh, we're all going to die. So I was like round trip for like $400 from Hawaii to fucking Hong Kong. I did it a couple of times because it was so fucking cheap. Hotels, I make 5-star hotels for like $100. It's fucking awesome. In Shim Sha Sui. Anyway, them people have not forgotten what happened. They fucking hate the bankers. They hate us, Guaylo, but they fucking hate the British bankers. Can I make that more clear? Like culturally, they fucking hate the British. They stole fucking Hong Kong for over a century. If you don't, I mean, I can't make it clearer. They fucking hate the British. Not all the British, just the British bankers in the city of London. And they're about to fuck them. You were going to watch this happen in real time in your lifetime. Some of us may have incarnated just for this specific event. I also want to see what happens in 2040 and 2046, but I really want to watch this happen. I can't. I'm so, oh man. And these guys, like I said, they dance all about, but they don't tell you directly what's about to happen and the motivations for why.
If we connect the dots, as you like to do, as you just did.
And they're not going to connect that dot. They're going to connect all the other dots, but the fact that the fucking Chinese hate the fucking British. And here's the other thing. If you don't know Chinese culture, and I come from Hawaii, so a lot of Chinese, a lot of Asians, a lot of Japanese, but if you don't understand Chinese culture, revenge is a thing. And they understand the concept of it's a dish best served cold, and they could give a fuck if grandma in Iowa can't get gas.
We've got London under pressure, China offering an alternative custody and pricing system at the same time as we're seeing loss of faith in the LBMA.
Yep.
Obviously, that benefits China's agenda to become the dominant hub for gold and silver trading. As we have discussed before, China and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization laying the groundwork, the railways for a parallel financial system and different architecture that rivals the US-led system. But if we look at all of this, how would China be able to do this? Is there a way? I mean, we're speculating, and admittedly, it's my point of speculation, but is there a way that China could, like, physically help engineer the squeeze?
Yeah, by standing for delivery all around the world. And that's what they've been doing. I believe that they have been involved in shorting the paper price.
Standing for delivery all around the world all at once. We all want our silver now. Oh, you don't have it. Oh, you don't have it? But we want our silver. And they're going to be like, well, you want some paper? And I'm like, no, we don't want paper. We want silver. Then what? Force majeure. Then what? Failure to deliver. Then what happens? When they talk a little bit about it, but then what? And it's about to happen. And they're dancing around it again. Yes, China could have something to do with it. They just told you they got the doré from around the world. They're setting up shit all over the place. They made deals with everybody, to include the Miracle Ear, I'm pretty sure. They had deals with them. And then try to understand, it's one bird. The whole show would bite into it. Anyway, the idea is that they're about to fuck the bankers. And the way they're going to fuck the bankers is, yes, by standing for delivery when they don't have silver to deliver. So rather than shoot each other, and they already got us injecting each other. And then they were smart enough to make sure that, let's say this is a married couple, and it's not, right? They both have their own thing going on, but just for fun. Okay, she's smart enough not to take the shot, and he's all afraid and wearing a mask and decides that he better take the shot. Well, she's fucked, and she knows it, because he's literally going to inject her if they continue to have relations. The other way around. This guy figures it out, and she's too stupid to not. And so she takes the shot. If they continue to have relations, they're both effectively vaccinated. Well, because shedding is a thing. And oops, this video may not get taken down. But the idea was the Chinese were smart enough to use that. And now, without having to do any of that, they can do oh so much more just with silver.
Because if you can't beat them, join them. And then going all around the globe in places like London, in places like Shanghai, all around the globe, including the miners directly disintermediating the marketplace, and pulling silver inexpensively at a subsidized price because of the futures leverage, because of the suppression, and buying as much as they can, anything that's not nailed down all around the globe from centers that do not trigger price discovery. It's the LBA, it's the COMEX that triggers price discovery. And so they're using the suppression of the Western paper market and probably adding on to it in an effort to do exactly what we're talking about. Slowly, instead of suppressing the market for other gains, political or militarily or whatever it may be, dollar supremacy, bond market supremacy, pick your poison. They're doing it because they realize we are entering a period of time where commodities will define the strength and legitimacy of the nation. And those
Not because they fucking hate the British bankers, Andy, right? Not because they sold them heroin and stole their silver. Not because of that, because of all this other stuff, because commodities, because they want to dominate the markets, because they want to, no, they want to fuck the British bankers. And they're going to. Because in just a little while, everybody can see that none of these banks can handle the shorts. And when the price goes through the moon, all of those, now, how short are they going to be? I mean, how underwater are they going to be? If there's a failure to deliver next week or in the next coming months, the guys that are short in the 40s, and they're short millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of ounces. And they're about to get fucked. And these two know it, and they're not, or maybe they don't. Because here's the thing I'll notice.
those commodities are not just going to be gold and silver and platinum. Platinum's another example where the head of
Yeah, pay attention to this part. Platinum, I'm so pissed because I called platinum at 900 and I didn't fucking capitalize, not a penny. And it's going more from here. Listen to this.
the TOCOM, Bruce Ikamoto, or I'm butchering his last name, but Bruce, the head of the Japanese TOCOM, says they're trading over 3 million ounces of platinum a day in London, but in, as he says, local, meaning location, London and Switzerland, 0 ounces available.
Let me repeat that because it sounds vaguely important. They're trading millions of ounces of air because there is no platinum there. And yet they're trading millions of ounces a day. What could possibly go wrong? And that's the platinum market. Platinum also one of the white metals that very much needed in lots of different applications. It's not just a precious metal for monetary or bullion. It has application like silver. And in a lot of places, pretty much nothing else will do but platinum. But anyway, the idea being is that the platinum market is, fortunately, it's never been a monetary metal. But the idea is that it's more worser. They trading, and there's, at least in the silver market, there's actually some silver. I mean, they're running out, but they're making deliveries. In this market, it's just air, 100% air. They admit it. They have not an ounce of fucking platinum, and yet they trade. And no one goes to jail. 600 million guns in this country for what? Guys, don't know the fuck to do with them.
What could possibly go wrong if you're trading 3 million ounces of deliverable spot contracts a day against nothing? And the same thing is true in London. What could possibly go wrong when you have 140 million ounces with 2 billion ounces in contracts out there that could stand for delivery, not to mention the 600 million you're trading per day?
Wait. What did he just say? Because, see, the thing is that most people don't understand the difference between billions and trillions and so on. Wait. Let's just back this up.
There, that could stand for delivery, not to mention the 600 million you're trading per day. What could go wrong? The Chinese have slowly played this game and buying it all around the world, including London, and they're achieving it by using our stupidity, our hubris, our suppression against us. Now, there will be some metal that will go back to London. There are a lot of players in that market, and some don't see the big picture. Some want to capitalize on the arbitrage. To the extent of what you're reading in Bloomberg, there is some truth to it. What could possibly go wrong if you're trading 3 million ounces of deliverable spot contracts a day against nothing? And the same thing is true in London. What could possibly go wrong when you have 140 million ounces?
140 million ounces. 140 million ounces.
2 billion ounces in
2 billion ounces. Okay. So a billion is 1,000 million. That's 1,000 million. 1,000 million is a billion. They have 140 million ounces, and they have 1,000 million 2 times in demands for the metal. And once again, there are people that have 1 ounce of silver, and then there are 359 other people who think they have 1 ounce of silver or who would like to have that 1 ounce of silver. And possession is 9/10 of the law, my friends. So whoever possesses the silver will have the silver, and these other 359 people with claims can go fuck themselves. Or, well, anyway, we'll see what happens. But think about that. Now, let's change the numbers around. You have $140, right? You get $140, but you owe $2,000. How are you gonna pay everybody when you only get $140 and you get $2,000 in debt? Well, I tell you what, you're not, and you cannot go get more money. You cannot go get another 140. You can probably not even get even $10 more, and you owe $2,000. Well, what you gonna do? This is the situation that they find themselves in. And these two are pretty calm about it, actually. Because there's some other places where people are starting to get excited. He's hungover. Give him credit.
Contracts out there that could stand for delivery, not to mention the 600 million you're trading per day. What could go wrong? The Chinese have slowly played this game and buying it all around the world, including London.
Oh, wait. So not only you owe the 2,000 and you only get 140, you also tacking on $600 more every day. And you guys don't think silver is going to go to 200. Okay. It's going to 200, then it's going to 400, then it's going to 600, then it's going to 1,000, and then I don't know what it's going to do. But it's going to 5 digits. It may, 4 digits. It may make 5 digits. In other words, $10,000 silver as measured in FRNs could be a thing. None of us are going to like that world. But the idea that, it's going to pull back and there's going to be a correction. Okay, yeah, because they can rig the markets totally, but they can't make silver out of thin air. So, and I think he mentions it, or maybe he already did mention it. I can recall a time when they crashed silver from like 20 to 12. But you couldn't get silver for $12 anywhere. You could get silver for $12 plus an $8 premium, but you couldn't get silver for $12. Okay, so they can crash the price from here, but you ain't going to get silver. You ain't going to get physical silver for whatever they crash the price to. And I don't think they're going to be able to crash the price, because even if they do crash the price, the Indians and the Saudi Arabians now have, apparently some people were a little surprised that Saudi Arabia chose SLV. If you understand the strategy, that's like giving the mouse some cheese. Here, have some cheese. And then you give him another piece of cheese. And then pretty soon he finds himself in a bucket or in a trap because he was going after the cheese and he didn't realize that the guy giving him the cheese didn't actually like him. The guy giving him the cheese was actually planning to kill him. And that's what the Saudi Arabians are doing. They are giving them the cheese because now you can take the money that we put in SLV and you can go shot some more. Go shot some more. Go ahead. Go ahead, cuz.
And they're achieving it by using our stupidity, our hubris, our suppression against us. Now, there will be some metal that will go back to London. There are a lot of players in that market, and some don't see the big picture. Some want to capitalize on the arbitrage.
Some are just stupid and greedy. Capitalists will sell you the rope when you finally get tired of them and decide you're going to hang them. Capitalists will sell you the rope to hang them. Right now, capitalists are handing silver away. Like we're going to look back, assuming we survive, we're going to look back at this time and your great, great, great grandchildren are going to study what happened if we have a continuity of culture. Because there's a chance there's a reset and in just another 15 or 20 years, nobody remembers any of this because there isn't anybody. But anyway, let's see what happens. But if there is continuity of culture, they will study this for generations.
To the extent of what you're reading in Bloomberg, there is some truth to it. But on a big level, I don't think you'll see more than 5 or 10% of the metal that's shot back here go over there. And it will just be a few players trying to arbitrage the big money who's been bringing in billions and billions a week in this stuff. I think they have bigger ideas and bigger plans for where silver's ultimately going to go. Let me say it one more time. The most powerful nation on the earth, the United States government, who really doesn't have much in the way of silver, who's importing billions of dollars a month, billions and billions and billions a week and month into COMEX and other areas that we probably don't even know about, including buying directly from local and artisanal mines, has classified silver as a critical mineral. What does that tell you about what the U.S. government sees in place or has in mind for silver? These are the crumbs that a lot of people will just blow right past and ignore.
Is there a possibility? He said, rubbing his nose. Is there a possibility that America might also have an issue with these fucking bankers in London? And that perhaps what he's talking about is all of them stabbing Caesar? And see, if you stab Caesar, you better kill him. So China got a knife out. Russia got a knife out. Ooh, certain Americans got a knife out. Africans got a knife out. India got a knife out. Turkey got a knife out. Everybody got a knife out. That knife is made of silver. And they're going to poke it into bankers in London. I don't know. Is this crazy talk? Bruh, they had enough. These bankers are going down. You're watching it in real time. These guys are saying everything but that.
Or to me, if you are a country who classifies an asset as a critical mineral, you're not going to let it all ship away. And so the majority of the metal that's come in under the guise and BS to that of tariffs and arbitrage, bullshit. I believe has twofold implications. One, I think it was brought back to cover the short positions of many of the U.S. banks.
You think? You think that they needed some silver to cover those shorts because they're trying to make it so that the banks don't completely collapse? You think that could be a possibility? I think he might be on something.
Banks who are short in New York and long in London. They brought back their London metal to.
Okay, get it? They're short in New York, but they're long in London. So when London blows up and the price goes through the ceiling, they'll make money there. Will that be enough to cover the shorts across the ocean? Yes, I believe it will. Because they're going to actually have the metal to deliver. Because now it's not about currency or FRNs, it's about ounces. So what they're doing is collecting ounces so that when this thing blows up, they can deliver the ounces and stay solvent. Meantime, and let's bring in the minor detail that some of these guys over there in the city of London tried to fuck Trump. And he knows it. Like personally, they tried to fuck Trump. And am I getting to get into that? Like I said, this thing's already going long, but there's reasons for this. And that goes back to bloodlines and family and all kind of shit that we're not going to talk about here at all. But see, when you talk about the IRS is people's. When you talk about the bankers is people's, and peoples that have families. And I don't know about you, but I know families where they're pretty close, but they still don't get along. And they don't even have billions of dollars. And the people we're talking about are famous for fucking killing each other. Read the history of the European aristocracy. Fucking brothers killing brothers, sons killing mothers, mothers killing sons, husbands killing wives. What fucking chance you think you and I have against people like this? They give a shit about us? The answer is no. And they're fighting. So what you want to do is sit back and relax with some silver in your hand and perhaps 2 years of food, as Martin Armstrong has mentioned more than once, and watch this whole thing play out. Because there's a bunch of them saying smooth transition. And then you got to think, as we connect dots, there's a depop program. What better way to depop than seize the credit and make it so that, maybe electricity goes off in the middle of winter? Or, well, I don't know, maybe, again, you can't pump gas, or you go to the store, and because that's 100% credit based. The Walmart is all about credit. No more credit, no more nothing on the shelves. Silver blows up, banks blow up, no more credit. Okay, so this is where they're talking about the smooth transition, wherein they have been bringing in boatloads of silver to stock the comics so that they don't fail to deliver. Meantime, LBMA, not so much. They don't have the silver. And they're telling a bullshit story about, and he's calling bullshit on the bullshit, that they're somehow going to send silver, which is now understood to be crucial to the bankers who funded the people that tricked Americans into killing each other to the tune of 600,000 just a little while ago. In our terms, that was forever ago. The Civil War was forever ago. But in their terms, that was just a little while ago. And there are some people in families that are not like us, who remember that carnage and who also want to fuck the English bankers. Like, we consider ourselves pals and everything, right? Oh, the British were right. We came from no. They're all about subjugating the North American continent. And then I've talked a little bit about who actually owns the land and who was just harvesting on the North American continent. Oh, was that the Dutch East India Company? We can't go there. It gets too complicated. So let's just talk about silver and the fact that everybody ganging up on these fuckers, these pedophiles, these worshipers of the adversary. They're about, and again, it's not like the good guys are going to beat the bad guys. They're all worshipers of the elder gods. But I just relish the fact that some of them, they're fighting with each other. Like I said, just because they're the bankers doesn't mean they all get along. And if you want to pick a side, go ahead and pick a side, but they don't fucking care about you. Whatever side you pick, they don't care. They're happy though if you pick their side and you sacrifice your child on their altar of war for whatever fucking excuse they have. I'm particularly testy because I was just having a conversation with one of my sons who was just in Vietnam, and we both have, on both sides of the family, relatives who bled there. For fucking what? And then I got to listen to Ann Vandersteel tell me that it's bad breeding if you burn the flag. I don't know. My family, to a fucking man, and not pussies like me, because I wouldn't join. I'm the only one. I'm the only one in all the lines, in both sides, all the way back, as far as anybody can fucking remember, that didn't join the military. And it was close. I almost joined the Navy, like my grandfather before me and my uncle. All right, my uncle in this place called Korea witnessed carnage. For what? And again, now it's the Chinese. And that was us in Korea just recently. And who did my uncle deliver ammo to so that they could mow down where the Chinese were taking losses that no American general would take? Which is why the border is where it is today. Because we had them, if you go look at your history again, we had fought the Koreans, those communists, all the way just about to the fucking Chinese border. And then the Chinese poured across the border in numbers we could not kill fast enough. Turned my uncle into a horrifying alcoholic because he saw the fields, the killing fields, the actual killing fields. Kind of like World War I expect, where it was just bodies stinking and rotting as far as the eye could see. Yeah, he drinks. But if you went to the fucking VA hall where those boys were drinking, those men, every fucking one of them would tell you that, yeah, you're an idiot if you burn the American flag, but that's kind of what they were fighting about. You know, because they have this idea that somehow fighting in Korea or Vietnam or wherever the fuck it was protecting my freedom of speech, my freedom to bear arms, not fucking firearms, arms, my ability to travel about the planet the way I want without asking permission from any fucking buddy. Yeah, that's what they thought they were fighting about. And now those same Chinese, who are not so pleased about Korea either, like I said, we got no friends in this fight. And these two like pretend like none of this matters, that it's just about dominance and, you know, controlling the metals market. No, it's about fucking the bankers in London. That's what this is about. And this is a blood feud between old families going back a long, long ways. West against East. I would love to say it's good against evil. I will say that the Chinese, in my opinion, have righteous cause because they traded fairly, and then the Masons and the British bankers addicted them to heroin and took the silver back. It's not a fair world, but tell me that that's the good guys. And just because we descend from them, we tend to be on the side of the British in our minds, but the British don't. Take a look at history. They don't love us. And all we did is ally with the wrong guys. Anyway, skip all of that. Get me in more trouble. But I'm telling you, what these guys are, they're scratching the surface and refusing to say the quiet part out loud.
Cover their shorts. And if I had to guess, at a gun to my head, I would say they've worked out a deal to deliver that to the U.S. Treasury and Exchange Stabilization Fund to help build a stockpile of critical minerals and elements, gold, silver, platinum. Now, gold is not that critical mineral, but you can tell by the rhetoric and by Judy Shelton's, your wonderful interview with Judy that you and I both did with her separately, in where she's consistent in saying they're going to back it to the Treasury market. And we've talked about the Genius Act and the Treasury market and what these implications are. But all of these things to me are far bigger than just capturing a spread. And I think that's what Bloomberg wants you to believe. And I think China is just simply trying to maximize all they can get by taking advantage of how naive that type of reporting truly is.
So, I mean, Andy, we know that, silver is obviously critical in terms of industrial uses, in terms of military uses, in terms of AI. It's critical for that. But simplify what you think the U.S. agendas could be when it's now on that critical minerals list. And you're saying it's being brought back in. Again, I'm trying to simplify and diffuse the mystery as much as possible here.
I mean, who knows what their ultimate end game is, other than the fact that silver is an element that is needed in so many things, whether it be in the military complex, like we've talked about, whether it be in anything that's electronic or electric that conducts energy, whether it be in solar panels. It is an inelastic metal, electric vehicle batteries, all of these things. Silver is needed. We don't have a stockpile anymore. We sold it. We've had to go into the open market my whole career to buy silver in order to make silver eagles. And I think someone got to Trump in this administration. I really do believe that. Someone, God bless whoever that person or people are, who got to him and said, look, the world is standing for delivery across the globe in critical things, from rare earths to gold, to silver, to platinum. And we've been doing the opposite. We've been selling it. We've been exporting it. And it's going to get to a point where we are dead in the water, where we have focused on a service industry. We have focused on U.S. treasuries and dollars and offshoring our manufacturing. Well, that puts us in a very compromised position. I think someone said, A, we got to bring back our manufacturing or our future generations are dead in the water. B, if we don't bring back these elements like gold and silver, we're dead. We cannot be like the United Kingdom, who just wrote a report saying last year that we are screwed. We're beholden to the Chinese for all of these things, and to France for our energy, and to the rest of the world for everything. We need to be self-sufficient. How do you do that? You embark upon a great dollar devaluation plan. You sent me an article, and it said exactly that there are people talking about this dollar devaluation plan. And that's exactly what I've been saying. You do that by letting gold go much higher. Now, Luke Groman, who's one of the smartest guys I know, says they're going to let gold go to 7,000 or 8,000 and then revalue it. Well, it's on its way, slowly moving up in that direction. But you do it to devalue the dollar. What does Stephen Mirren, the architect of the Mar-a-Lago Accord, want? To devalue the dollar, to bring back manufacturing. How do you bring back manufacturing inexpensively? Bring back.
I have bad news. They're going to bring back manufacturing, but who's going to be doing the labor? Robots. Who's going to be running the factories? AI. So yeah, they're going to bring back manufacturing, but Joe Sixpack is not going to benefit from that manufacturing because he's not going to get paid, because AI and robots are going to be running the manufacturing and the farming. And actually, the farming is going to be a good thing. I was just watching this thing about the fact that some of the farmers have figured out that these weeds that you can't kill anymore with the Roundup and so forth, yeah, they become Roundup resistant. So now they have to use stronger and stronger and more herbicide. Well, guess what? Now they can use robots. And then they're increasing the fields or the yields in the fields because the robots cut down the weeds. They don't shoot them with poison. And then what happens? Oh, yeah, the weeds mulch. And you actually get greater yields because you're not poisoning the land. You're feeding it poisonous plants, but at least the plants are mulching. Anyhow, the point being is that farming, manufacturing, all that stuff is going to be done by robots, not by humans. And the ones that they're going to get rid of are the ones that don't have any silver or gold. And they already ran an experiment and told some of you, or some of them, or some of us, depending on how you look at it, that you were non-essential. How'd you like that? You're non-essential. So anyway, the non-essential guys, they're getting rid of. And if you want to be essential, maybe you need some silver.
All this gold, peg it to the back end of the bond market, like Judy says, have zero upfront borrowing costs, bring it back at a much higher gold price, which is a devalued dollar. They raise gold and Bitcoin to devalue.
Yeah. Pay attention to this part. And then he doesn't talk about XRP because I think XRP is going to go up to where Bitcoin is because they want to use that for what they're talking about here and maybe a couple other stable coins, as they say. But the idea was, yes, to get Bitcoin up there so that you didn't put it into gold and silver and raise the price. But then they also want to use it to transact. And they also want to start using gold to transact. And they can't use gold to transact at $4,000 an ounce. It must go much, much higher. Now, here's the thing. Gold isn't going higher. What they're saying is that they have to devalue the dollar. They have to take the dollar much, much lower. So it's going to take many, many, many more dollars to buy that same ounce of gold, to buy that same Bitcoin, to buy that same ounce of silver or platinum. Now, here's the thing with Bitcoin. If you are a Bitcoiner, and she is, we are just about to hit a bear market for Bitcoin. There is a very simple cycle, and I should be able to find that, but I won't be able to on the fly, see, because I can't pause this because we're live. But there's a chart that just shows 1064 days and then 365 days, 1064 days and then 365 days. We just got to the end of the 1064, and we're about to go into the 365, which will be the correction phase for Bitcoin for about a year, and then it's going to take off again. Okay, so the stuff that we're talking about here, except for silver, is not imminent. Or, well, excuse me, it's imminent. It's not immediate. There's a difference. It's coming because it is imminent. There's no getting away from it. What he's talking about is going to happen. But gold isn't going to 8,000 next week. Silver is probably going to go to 100 much more rapidly than anybody wants to say out loud because nobody wants to sound ridiculous. And nobody likes to be wrong. I don't care if I'm wrong. And what do I got? 6 people watching this, maybe? Except for YouTube's AI. It cracks me up. Right? Less than 100 people watching this, but they'll still take down a video. Or maybe more than 100 people watch it. Because I get some interesting emails sometimes. And I'm like, where did you fucking see my video? Because, there's no hit count. And it turns out they didn't see it on YouTube. They saw it someplace else, and they didn't see it in the YouTube format because somebody took my video and posted it someplace else. Anyhow, the point being is nobody watching this and nobody watching these two either, because even with these are two high power, this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about. She knows what's happening. And it was trying to bring together the Bitcoin world or the crypto world and the metals world, because it is the same team when you get right down to it. And what's happened is nobody cares. I mean, go look at how many people are watching this video. What is, I think they've got 20,000 views, maybe, probably not even 15,000 views in a nation of hundreds of millions. This should have tens of thousands of views, at least hundreds of thousands. Nope. Thousands of views.
Value the dollar, not to let them go higher because they want to make more money. It's the dollar to sell manufacturing that you brought borrowing costs. Well, how do you continue to get gold and Bitcoin higher? I've got an idea. It's called the Genius Act. You create the Genius Act, that $1 that's holed up at the Federal Reserve that the banks don't want to lend out into this market. They'll just buy more stable coins with it, which will pay, they can turn around and put this money to use. And now all of a sudden you get the spread between the Treasury issuance and the is used to buy more gold and more Bitcoin, which devalues the dollar further, and more treasuries, which pushes rates lower. You fund the government through synthetic demand, and you need all of these critical elements, not only to bring back manufacturing, because you need it. In fact, there are a lot of people that will tell you part of the reason China likes the price of silver cheaper is because they're accumulating as much as they can, but they need it for manufacturing. They need a low silver price for manufacturing.
They need it for manufacturing, and they need it to fuck the bankers in Britain.
This stuff to me It's all part of a bigger picture. You can't look at one without the other. That bigger picture is to bring back manufacturing in a massively devalued dollar at a much higher gold and Bitcoin price in order to devalue the dollar, in order to pay off the debt, in order to reshore manufacturing at zero borrowing costs and sell your product to the world. It's all part of the same deal. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm on something instead of onto something, but I will tell you, Occam's razor tells me that this is one.
Oh my God, look at this woman. He's not wrong. And the idea is that, yeah, the most, yes. But he is also, I'm not sure if he's lying by omission or if he really is just skipping over the concept. Now, this woman right here, like I said, oh my God, just, oh my God. She doesn't show you anything. She shows you no signs. That's a little simple silver chain. So she's not wearing any kind of jewelry. She's not, okay. So, and I watch videos and I look for signs in the thing, and she doesn't show any signs. I don't think she actually knows she's supposed to. And I don't think she actually has any signs to show, because I think she's actually one of the common people. Maybe. Because like I said, there's, unless it's just the color schemes going on here, but there are no signs of which side, where she's, anyway, we'll see, because they have to, like, they can't help it. Signs and symbols. But anyway, I see none with her. But I mean, praise be to Miles Franklin and Andy Sheckman for finding a woman this gorgeous to fucking head up their PR and so forth. And she's smart. It's not just good looking. But the idea is that him not crazy, and there is insanity, or what's going to look like insanity, about to ensue. Or for some of us, it may be hilarity.
A hell of a logical idea, and it makes sense to me. So that's what I think that they're doing. And all of this is just part of a bigger picture that people are looking too much, polarizing too.
And the most worstest part about it, she's not even trying. Look at her. She's not trying. She's not doing nothing.
Many things, is looking straight at that one piece and not adding them into a bigger chain of events, a linear chain of events that would allow us at some point to reshore our manufacturing and to grow our way out of a problem that, if we don't, our future generations are dead on arrival, as far as I'm concerned.
Our future generations are, in fact, dead on arrival. 70% of them got shot up, and we're not sure if there's a kill switch there or not. Secondly, he seems to be thinking that the manufacturing is to benefit the common man. The manufacturing is to benefit the United States corporation and the very few wealthy families that plan on being around after Depop. And I don't know if he's a Pollyanna or if he's lying by omission, or if he actually thinks that the United States government wants to employ and therefore insure and take care of millions and millions. Okay, here's the other thing. Fun statistic, as I'm studying my AI, because I'm trying to get my Crouton Ramon's Wild World of Mathematics hour-long extravaganza is going to come to pass. My son, anyway, we got plans. It's going to be fun. But the idea is that AI should be replacing 100 million out of 140 million jobs, or 139 or 138, or however many Americans. Go look it up, how many are employed. They're thinking that 100 million of them are going to be replaced by AI. To include the manufacturing jobs. They don't need you in the warehouse because robots can load and unload trucks. They don't need you on the piers because robots can load and unload 100% automatic and automated and more efficient than humans. And it's amusing the way they figured out how to do some of that efficiency is by studying nature and plants and ants and so forth. But anyway, the idea is that they're not using humans. You're not going to have humans in manufacturing plants. They're not going to be on the docks. They're not going to be driving the trucks. They're not going to be unloading or loading the trucks. They're not going to be in the plants manufacturing whatever the fuck it is. It's going to be robots. And I'm not talking about robots that look like us. I'm talking about, the robots in manufacturing plants that just do their thing. And see, we're at the point now where they do not need us, Andy and Michelle, because the robots can build robots. So the original software is no longer required. That would be us, the original software. The original software builds everything else. And then comes 2040 and 2046, because our benefactor understands that the technology that they enslave us with always requires electricity. And if you are we going to go there? Let's go there just for fun. The guys that built the pyramid, that technology didn't just disappear. We didn't just lose the technology. We just don't have the technology. Others have that technology. And if you understand that one concept, you understand that all of this is just fun and games on the surface. And there's a much bigger picture going on than even this. But part of that spiritual journey is the takedown of the demon worshiping, blood drinking, child trafficking, slavers and pirates, perfidious pirates that worship a faggot that loves music and song and dance and law and words and enslaves the masses with them. But that's crazy talk. That's see, these two would never, right? They can't, because that's insane. But unfortunately, if you fall down the rabbit holes, that looks to be what's happening. And you'll notice when you fall down the rabbit hole, if you get down there deep enough, that T is silent. But they dance all around it. We're halfway through. I go shut up now.
Concern.
And yes, we have spoken about this at length, Triffin's dilemma, the challenge of being the global reserve currency, how it fundamentally hollows out your own manufacturing base, how J.D. Vance, how President Trump have said that there are disadvantages to being the global reserve currency, how they want to make the U.S. sovereign and independent. I will put links to all of our previous interviews for our viewers so we don't recap all of that. Luke Gromen pretty much saying exactly the same.
That is a man that is holding it together after a night of heavy drinking. I've been there, Andy, on more than one occasion. And I had a fucking radio show. Oh, my God. Anyway, I know what he's doing. I know. He's suffering for us.
Same thing on my show, my interview with him. But the silver angle here, Andy, that's mostly to do with the onshoring. Or do you see silver as a potential monetary asset?
I don't think we'll have a bimetallic monetary system. And even Judy said that to me as well. I don't think we will. I don't think you'll see people trading silver in to buy candy bars at the store. But I do believe that it has a role as a monetary system that is devaluing. Gold will have a monetary aspect to it, whether it be with the BRICS nations in their settlement system or backing the treasury. As Judy says, but look at these states that are saying gold and silver are legal tender. Now, if I had to guess, how could gold get into a monetary bimetallic system? I think the state of Texas has a good plan where you take your gold and you take your silver, if it's American made, and you bring it to the Texas Bullion Depository. This is where they're going, I believe. And they will check it in. Okay, Michelle dropped off 400 gold eagles and 10,000 silver eagles. And bang, they give you a credit card that says, this is now yours, free to spend at any establishment, and it will just be deducted out of your inventory. This is how you take gold and silver in the 21st century and use it as legal tender rather than going door to door. So could it become part monetary? Abso-freaking-lutely. But I think it will be in a manner like that, like Glint, right? Where you can take your Glint card and spend it. But I think there will be states like Texas, maybe like Florida, like Oklahoma, like Arkansas, that will say, put your money into a state-sponsored vault, Get an accounting, a real-time accounting and auditing, and use it as your form of money. And I could see that absolutely.
All right, well, we will definitely get deeper into that conversation, how everything fits into the bigger macro agenda when you are back in the air-conditioned studio here in Florida. But I don't want to keep you too much longer, Andy, but I have to get your thoughts on price action, because obviously that is of tremendous interest. And yes, we have a record above $52 an ounce, $53 an ounce, depending on which market you're in. But that's only a record. So if we adjust that for inflation.
Wait. Depending on which market you're in, you mean the price isn't the price? Just want to point that out, because the price is no longer the price. We don't know what the price is. That's what that, right? If you're in Asia, it's one price. If you're in New York, it's one price. If you're in London, it's one price. And not only that, the spot price and the futures price. So we got all kind of what's your silver worth? I don't know, but I can tell you what, you're not having it for $50 or $60 or $70 or $96. And I'm not the only one that feels this way, because we all know where this is going, and what they're doing, as he's so astutely pointed out, silver is not going up in value. They're devaluing the dollar because the math. Actually, we'll just leave it at that, because the math. So in order for their math to work, the dollar has to go way, way, way down in value. It's already almost worthless compared to what it was when they first started printing it in 1913. And it's got a long, people think that it can't fall far. It can go much, much lower. Gold can go much, much higher. So can Bitcoin, so can XRP, so can some of the more useful cryptos. Most of those cryptos are going to go to shit, like zero. But platinum, silver, and gold are going to be, everyone is going to be reminded why we call them precious metals. We never call it precious paper. There are no precious papers. We don't call it precious paper. It's just fucking paper. And that fucking useless, worthless paper that they print hand over fist and then charge us interest to use is going to be devalued. And then it's going to go away. And here's the other thing. These masters of the universe that think that they can run everything all the time may lose control of it, because there's this whole thing called a market, and they may not be as smart as they think they are. But the idea that it's going to be a super smooth transition and nobody's going to notice. Right now, you don't notice that the government shut down, but I'm pretty sure you're going to notice when the currency devaluation hits. When you mosey on into Costco and that rack of steaks isn't just $100. Maybe that's a rack of hamburger. And now the rack of hamburger is $100. And the steak is way, way more than that per pound. And there's going to be plenty of steak and there's going to be plenty of hamburger. The muggles just won't be able to afford it because they won't have silver or gold stored up. But see, if you have gold and silver stored, like even just very shortly, I'm going to go dig up some coins that were purchased for $5. Turn around and sell that one coin for $100 very shortly. Take that $100 and walk into Costco and buy a rack of steaks. And the original cost of the coin was $5. Now you got to take time value of money into account, because it took a long time for that ounce of silver to get to $100. But see, there was a time when you could get a rack of steaks at Costco for, I don't know, $10 a steak, 4 steaks in the rack, $40, easy. And before that, I remember when it was cheaper than that. And I actually remember telling my sons when I bought a rack of steaks for $40, and there were 4 steaks there, that back in my day, for $10, you could go into Chart House in Kahului. You could get a steak, a potato. You could go to the salad bar and one drink, $9.99. I remember because I went. And they was making money. They weren't losing money at $9.99. And then, you buy drinks. But you could get steak, salad, and a pretty girl in a short skirt would bring you your food. And then it went to the point where $10 bought you a piece of raw meat. And now you can get that piece of raw meat for, what, I don't know, 4 steaks is easily $20 a steak now. And I for fuck sure remember getting entire meals, for one, in a nice restaurant for $20. Okay, those days are returning, but not in FRNs. Because the silver and the steak have the same relative value, mostly, but not as measured in FRNs. In FRNs, everything is out of whack. Because you can grow a cow, but it takes a whole lot of work to get an ounce of silver out of the ground. I have been to Idaho and seen the massive endeavor it is to mine silver. And you were able to get it for the longest time for $20. Like, these guys were barely breaking even, just enough to pay the miners, right? And then finally, I know a couple of guys. I've had drinks with them. I sat shoulder to shoulder with them at bars. And you know what? Fuck it. We'll just shut the thing down and wait for the price to go up. And that was many, many moons ago. And the price never did go. But now it's about to. And those mines are going to reopen, but it's going to be a while. And I may go make a visit up into the Silver Valley just for fun. See who's left. That's many years since I've been up there. I probably won't know anybody, but they'll remember me because I'm not the right color in in Idaho. So they'll remember me. Anyway.
All-time high is closer to $200 an ounce, going back to 1980 when the Hunt brothers, as we discussed, tried to corner the market. They drove prices near $50.
Hold on a second.
And use it as your form of money. And I could see that, absolutely.
All right, well, we will definitely get deeper into that conversation, how everything fits into the bigger macro agenda when you are back in the air-conditioned studio here in Florida. But I don't want to keep you too much longer, Andy, but I have to get your thoughts on price action, because obviously that is of tremendous interest. And yes, we have just broken a new record above $52 an ounce, $53 an ounce, depending on which market you're in. But that's only a nominal record. So if we adjust that for inflation, the real all-time high is closer to $200 an ounce, going back to 19.
Pardon me, not closer to, it's over $200 an ounce, because it takes 206 of today's dollars to buy 50, or to do the purchasing power of 50 of $1980. So not almost, it's actually over. But, with minor detail.
80 when the Hunt brothers, as we discussed, tried to corner the market. They drove prices near $50. But again, we have to adjust for inflation. So even at these levels, silver is still trading far below its true historical peak. And it shows how undervalued silver remains. There's tremendous potential upside if this rally continues. So we've got this massive gap between silver's nominal and inflation-adjusted highs. Part of the debasement trade, as well, as I've discussed previously on the show, how JP Morgan is now recommending that their investors, move from dollar assets to hard assets like gold and silver. We've got the structural shortages that we're seeing. How likely is it that silver could reach or surpass its real all-time high, its inflation-adjusted high in the cycle?
What'd she say? I'm sorry, I got distracted. What'd she say? She said something about inflation and all-time highs and 50 and 200 or something. Anyway,
I think anything's possible. Look, just the cup and handle formation would tell you that $96 would be the next target. You take the top of the cup, 45-year cup and handle, double cup and handle formation. The bottom of the cup was $4. The difference between the two is 46. Add it to the top, which has been broken through. The next target is 96. But where is there resistance in a market that has none above this price level? Where is real price discovery? And you're right. I mean, if you took gold right now, let's see if I can look right here and see what the price of gold is at the moment. If we took gold right now at 41.40 and we divided it by 42, which would be roughly the average price of the last 100 years, and this is not even, this is not even talking about your inflation adjusted price. But if you took that and divided it by 42, right now silver should be at $100 an ounce right now, just based upon its 200-year average. But it's coming out of the ground 6 times higher than that. So is it possible $600 could really be a number? I don't know. That would meet the geologic ratio. So
is it possible? I would say it's probable. I would say better than 98% chance.
So I think silver will go higher than people think possible, because you now have an environment where I think it will be very difficult for the West to continue, especially with the Basel III regulations about physical metal versus unencumbered or encumbered futures contracts, to hold it down at these levels when there's so much physical demand. So is $200 realistic? Absolutely it is. And quite frankly, if you take 41.40 and you divide it by 7, which is what Keith Neumeyer will tell you it's coming out of the ground at, the geologic ratio right now between gold and silver is $591. Now, is that insane? Maybe. Is it crazy? Sure. Could it happen? Why not? At some point, don't these two numbers need to align themselves in an asset that is now being reclassified a critical mineral, in an asset where some of the most powerful nations on the planet are buying it using these subsidized prices? And the thing of it is that in an environment where everything has exploded in value, everything, and we've talked about how when
except silver,
my dad graduated college in '63 and married my mom, that's $6,000 a year. He and my mother could live comfortably together for a year on $6,000. Really? Or a brand new Corvette in 1973 was under $8,000 and now it's 120. Really? I can give you a million examples where the price of inflation is exceeding. Look at the price of a home in 2005, 20 years ago, was $240 or $240,000 an ounce, or $240,000 rather.
I love it. He's got silver on the brain. So anyway,
and now, and gold back then at $400, what was the number? 240,000 divided by 455.
I like it.
It's 527 ounces of gold. The average price of a house today is about $450,000, but that 527 ounces of gold right now is worth what?
A couple $1 million.
Over $2 million.
Yeah. So bottom line is, I didn't do the math in my head. I watched this already, but the idea is that he does the math, and you can see that, yeah, the asset prices are about to crash. As well, actually, they're not about to crash. They are crashing as measured in gold. They're holding their own, and it's going to crash as measured in FRNs. But if it crashes in FRNs, it's really going to crash as measured in gold, and by proxy, silver, which will do better on a percentage basis than the gold does. So it's not going to be a whole lot of ounces of silver to buy a house or a car or whatever. Like, you won't need thousands and thousands of ounces of silver like you do now. You'll need hundreds of ounces of silver.
When we talk about inflation adjusted, the only things that haven't adjusted for inflation are gold and silver, and that's by design. They were kept down because they are the barometer of the health of the system, and that's Gibson's paradox. That's holding down the assets that are truly measuring the value of the currency underneath it. So yes, I do think it can go.
Stop. I can't take it. Help. Okay, sorry.
Higher than anyone thinks possible. Is $200 crazy? I'm not saying silver's going to $200, and I can see the title of this conversation already. Andy Scheckman says silver's going to 200, or maybe
Help. I can't think. I only have enough blood to run one.
600. But you know what? It wouldn't be out of line to see it at 200. Not even a little bit, Michelle. And I mean that as God is my witness. So yeah, gold and silver are some of the only assets that haven't found real price discovery. The S&P 500, the Dow Jones, the real estate market, crypto. Okay, these things have found some real semblance of value, fair value, right? How about gold and silver? Just beginning. So sky's the limit, and I do believe that.
Well, I don't think $100 silver is that far-fetched, especially
It's
when
not
you
at
look
all.
at the debasement trade and, investors getting out of cash, getting out of dollars, going for physical assets. I don't think $100 silver is that far-fetched by Q1 of next year. I think that's a very,
Well,
if not, no?
yeah, you're getting. I just read an article today that said that, and I forgot who said it. If it was Jeffries or Goldman, someone came out this morning. It was quite a night for me last night, so I'm a little hazy as to what I read this morning. Sorry, it is vacation, but I will tell you that
Kevin for that.
it's always Kevin's fault. Everything's Kevin's fault. You know that. But there is a mainstream source
Any black man knows what's going on.
that said
Okay, so if I ever have grandchildren, I want a granddaughter that looks like this or close to it. And at least this smart.
2026 $100 silvers in the cards. I believe it. I really do.
Let me play devil's advocate here, as you know I like to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
one of the distinctive things about the silver market is that it is very small, and therefore it is more subject to volatility and price swings. CNBC, for example, calls silver the smallest big market in the world. Silver's market cap is tiny relative to gold, global equities, Bitcoin. The latest estimates that I have here is the silver market
help
is at around estimated market cap of $1.2 trillion. Gold, $27.8 trillion. Global, $110 trillion. The global bond market, $130 trillion. Bitcoin, $2.4 trillion. So silver at $1.2 trillion, it's a small market. It is subject to more volatility, subject to more manipulation. So
subject to the Chinese taking it over and fucking the fuck out of the LBMA and the bankers of the West via the City of London and their insane short position that they continue to take. It's just saying. She doesn't mention that. We are at war. It's war. In war, there are casualties. And sometimes there's collateral damage. You don't want to be the collateral damage. Neither do you want to be a casualty. Well, you can't be a casualty because the casualties are going to be the bankers. And again, the more carnage they create in the West, the happier they are.
Even any surge in demand, even a few $1 billion, can move the price violently. And then the same dynamic could apply in reverse, right? That thin liquidity makes for explosive moves both up and down. So does that mean that we could just as easily see a major pullback?
Sure. I mean, I think it would be silly to expect there never to be a pull.
Yeah, there you go. Because markets never go straight up. Never. Even in a market, they never go straight up. But there's no supply.
pullback, but not the pullback that people are thinking. I don't think that's even possible. And if it's such a small, irrelevant market, why do 8 banks hold the largest concentrated short position in the history?
Yeah. Why? How come? How come? If it's such a small, irrelevant market, how come the biggest banks in the whole wide world, 8 of them, are the most concentrated short in the history of anything ever that we've ever heard about ever in the history of anything? How come?
Of any commodity traded on COMEX, these Western banks. And by the way, if you want to pull up it, the article is from Monday, October 13th, yesterday, on CNBC, and it's titled $100 Silver. Analysts say the metal could double from record highs on CN freaking BC. So, we're beginning to see mainstream saying these kinds of things.
She's not even trying. She's not doing nothing. And she's killing me.
But yes, I think anyone who expects things to move up straight line without pulling back.
But could we see a dramatic pullback? Could we see a dramatic?
No, I don't think so. And if it is, it won't be long lived. Look, to see a market
if there was a dramatic pullback, India and Russia and, well, especially India, and I believe probably even the Chinese and Brazil and everybody will jump in. But again, even if there was a dramatic pullback, you won't be able to get the price. You won't be able to get it at spot. You won't be able to get it at the futures price. There'll be huge premiums.
It falls by $3-4. To me, that was always dramatic, although prices are going higher, but it shoots right back up. Could you see it? Yeah, why not? And in 2020, silver went from 20 to 12. But when that happened, you had 100% premiums and 12-week delivery delays on everything physical. So
100%.
The physical demand right now would eat that up for lunch. And I think anyone that would be silly enough to try and short the market in that manner, naked shorting, would face a very quick existential threat and an exit from financial services when they get called on the carpet for delivery. So it just seems to me that maybe those tricks are from days gone by when no one really cared too much about gold and silver. I think we're moving into a different reality right now.
Would that include tricks like spoofing? Because we have seen the likes of JP Morgan get charged for spoofing the silver market. It is a market that's been easily manipulated in the past.
Well, think about that. Think about that for a minute when we talk about the articles that come out of the BS mainstream. You're far more of a journalist than any of these clowns are on any of these major stations, because
you see, and he's 100% right. I mean, she's actually this woman worth her salt. And actually,
if that were really so important that the largest commercial bullion bank in the world pays the largest fine the Justice Department ever handed out, $920 million, many thought they should have been charged with RICO and racketeering. But
had that happened in China, those guys would have hung. Because in China, they had some bankers that were involved in some hanky-panky, and they strung them up, literally. Put them to death. In China, they don't fuck around.
They skated with spoofing charges, yet they're still allowed to be the major custodian along with...
How's that? Think about that. Think about the insanity of what he's saying.
BlackRock, of the world's largest...
Let's see. You guys steal diamonds. We have diamonds. How would you like to guard the diamonds? Oh, okay. And we know we'll look too. We'll just trust you. And we won't count them either. We won't have an inventory. We'll just, we know you're diamond thieves. So you guys would be the best guys because you would protect the diamonds against the other thieves that steal diamonds, because you guys know how to steal diamonds, right? That's how smart we are.
Silver Trust and the custodian, along with BlackRock, of GLD. So, in other words, this market is far more important. That's what this whole discussion is about today, Michelle. The mainstream wants us to focus on the airplanes going back with silver and all of this nonsense. And is it overvalued? And is it going to come down? And no, the U.S. government's reclassified it critical, and 8 Western banks held the largest short position of any commodity traded. And JP Morgan, who paid the largest fine the Justice Department had ever handed out for manipulating the silver market, call it what you want, spoofing, it was much more than that, they got off easy, is also the custodian of said largest silver trust in the world. the game is much bigger than we are being led to believe, and that is
Why, yes, it is.
really everything I'm trying to convey here.
And notice how they still don't talk about the Chinese at all in this portion of the conversation as to why all of this. Because one more time, we're at war, and the Chinese are going to fuck the holy shit out of the bankers in the city of London. Because they figured out that it's us or them. They've chosen them. The bankers have, over centuries, but particularly over the last few decades, all the wars are banker wars. How many Chinese died in Korea? What happened in Vietnam? How about we don't talk about the fact that we are very much, ever since we dropped a couple of nukes on the Japanese have pretty much been our bitch. And the Chinese fucking hate the Japanese also. So even more, they hate the Guaylo because the Guaylo are friends with their enemies. And I'm not even going to go there, but I can tell you that these grudges are for real, not imaginary, and they matter. The only place you can go, and see, I grew up in a very special place because Japanese and Chinese actually get along in Hawaii. In fact, they even marry each other. In fact, I know people that they have part Japanese and part Chinese. You will never fucking find that in China or Japan. That just fucking does not happen. Those people hate each other. Okay, so even more, like I said, the Chinese, they don't like the Americans, but they really, really hate the British. And if they can trick the Americans or get the Americans to help them or whatever, the Americans in fucking the British, because the Americans, we have a beef with the British also. And again, it's when I say British, I'm not talking about the man on the street. I'm talking about the Masons and the guys that are running the banks. Every fucking one of those guys is a member of a secret society. You do not get into the financial world at that level without being in the fold. Period. It don't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter, but you don't come from one of their bloodlines or one of their families, or you're not in the club and you haven't gone through the initiations, you ain't, no. Okay. They're not very keen on letting the Chinese in the club, I promise. And they resent them for that also. And not to mention, they've been fucking the Chinese. They also been fucking the Russians pretty hard. But I mean, everybody got a beef. Everybody. Nobody doesn't have a beef with the British Empire. And then they collapsed it back into the 3 city-states that we have now. And now it's not the British Empire's military. It's the American military, which is the United States Corporation. Americans are the ones that, for the most part, people the military of the United States. Those are 99% Americans who have multiple times sworn up and down that they're U.S. citizens. And then the U.S. citizens can become infantrymen. The infants dress up in costumes and kill each other for Cali. But you can't tell them that because they get upset. Because they're fighting for the flag. Oh, glory. Those stars and stripes, those colors don't run. If they have their way, there will be boots on the ground, and the Americans will be filling those boots in Persia, maybe in the Middle East, in the area around Gaza, to keep the peace. Who knows what they got planned? But the idea is that they got big plans, and the other guys don't like their plans. So the other guys have figured out that, yeah, let's just shoot them with silver. But see, these two are not counting on one of the most primal emotions is hate. Also, one of the more primal emotions when that hate comes up is revenge. And I'm going to tell you again, if you understand anything about the Chinese culture, one, they make the Jews look like fucking spendthrifts. And two, revenge is like running through their veins. You killed my father. They make movies about it. It's in their culture. You no can watch one Chinese kung fu movie that doesn't have a revenge theme in there. Somebody killed somebody, and now somebody got to go back and kill the other guy. They killed the master. They killed the father. They killed the brother. They killed the mother. They killed somebody, and now somebody go back. Okay. The motherfuckers in Britain killed many Chinese with opium. Destroyed lives, businesses, families. And the Chinese are pissed about it. I've heard it with my own ears. And not only that, if you talk to just the common man Chinese, they understand they are banding together for a purpose. When I was there were construction cranes all over Shenzhen. Shenzhen has been built out since then. That's been 20 years. But they understood that the point was that it was their century and it was their turn. And the fucking Americans didn't know what the fuck they're doing anyway. They consider us heathens. As all cultures, as another thing, like I said, they make the Jews look like spendthrifts, but also they racist. Oh my God. Particularly against dark skin, but I mean, they don't consider white folk to be so the round-eyed guaylo. They don't have a whole lot of respect for them either. But I can tell you that in certain places in Asia, as soon as they saw me and found out that I was black, that seminar was canceled. And they hired somebody else. They got somebody white who didn't know the system as well, but he was the right color. Like I said, the politics and stuff, they're just scratching the surface and being very polite about money and gold and transfer and so forth. But I'm telling you, there is some emotion involved here, and the fucking Chinese hate the fucking bankers, and they will do whatever they can because they are extracting revenge. They're not just extracting wealth. They want to hurt them. Okay, and by proxy, that means they want to hurt us because they can't hurt them without hurting us. And they don't care. So our guys supposedly are trying to mitigate and trying to smooth transition and all this other stuff. They may or may not succeed. So if they don't succeed, you should probably have some water and some foods and some silver and maybe some gold. I like silver personally. I'm not telling you what to buy. Maybe if this whole thing comes out, some Bitcoin and maybe some XRP and some other coins. Theta, don't forget about. But anyway, a few coins that have utility. HBAR. There's like 7, 8, 10 of them. And the stable coins that they talk about here. Because what they're going to do is use those stable coins to keep the system going for just a little longer. And see, they think they want to keep the system going just a little longer so they can bring the manufacturing back and blah, blah. Yeah, but no. Because the intimation is that they care and they want to employ American. No, they do not care to employ Americans. They do not want to have to pay benefits. In fact, part of this whole thing is because they don't want to have to pay benefits. The corporations do not want to make good on the promises they've made. So they rather kill them off. than pay them. Yeah, I know that's crazy conspiracy theory. You see, this all blends together quite nicely. There are many different crises and facets to this where there are those who supposedly are on our team who can benefit from this situation. And one more time, the benefit is not to you and me, the common man. The benefit is to the big families and the big corporations. Like these two seem to have the idea that they give a fuck about us, and they don't. And most certainly the Chinese don't. And not only that, the Chinese and that whole family, and then, oh man, you got to get into the top and their secret societies, which are different than the European secret societies. The one thing they all have in common when they worship the morning star is secrecy. They all agree that us muggles can't know what the fuck's going on. But all them guys right now are not in agreement. And again, the Chinese and the Russians now are feeling very, very and the Indians slighted, like disrespected, because it's happened to me directly. But they're basically the British and some of the Americans in the mid-level management fight that's going on here, because this is mid-level management. This is not the top echelon of the slave plantation we call Midgard. But anyway, some of the masters on the slave plantation are having disagreements on how the slave plantation should be run. And again, the ones over there in Britain have disrespected, let's put it that way, the Indians and the Chinese and the Russians, and basically said, he's just recently to the Russians, what are you gonna do about it? Yeah, we just took $380 million of your dollars. What are you gonna do about it? Yeah, we just fucking stole all your your silver, and I'm taking a Spanish course, so I almost said plata. But anyway, your silver, and what are you gonna do about it? And yeah, we addicted your people to heroin. What are you gonna do about it? Fuck you. Right? They have their whole egalitarian bullshit where, you know, they're the superior race also. So we have two sets of humans who think they're the superior race. And in case you weren't keeping up, I'm talking about the Chinese and the British. Because see, think about it. The British are so, what's the word I want? They won't even breed. The thing about the British, they didn't breed with the Indians, and it was very shameful to do so. Right? They're eugenics. The Spanish, on the other hand, I know lots of half-breed Spanish women that are, you know, Mexican women and South American women and Venezuelan women and so forth, Latin American women that are crazy beautiful, because the Spaniards had no problem taking Indian wives. In fact, they kind of like the British did when they moved into Hawaii. They figured out that, yeah, it was a good idea to marry their daughters, because a lot of those daughters had claims to huge tracts of land. But the bottom line here, guys, is these guys are not talking about the quiet parts. They're not talking about the emotions that are involved. They're not talking about the fact that there are factions that hate each other. Like, I can't use strong enough language to make you understand some of the virulent emotions the Chinese feel for some of the people that they feel have wronged them. And they always get revenge. It's part of their culture. You don't strike a Chinese man without expecting a blow in return, unless you've killed that Chinese man with your first blow. But if you haven't killed him with your first blow, expect him to strike you back. Period. It's their culture. Okay. Bottom line is you're watching the fruition of a multi-decade plan by people who are nefarious. Well, we consider them nefarious. But anyway, the idea is doing evil, using poison, not beyond any of these people. Blowing up babies, no big deal. The babies just come with the scenery. Starving people to death, no big deal. People starve. So if you understand what you're up against, then maybe you prepare and you don't just shrug. I got to go work tomorrow. Okay. But things are going to be awesome for some, and things are going to suck so hard that people are going to wish they were dead. And it's all, here we are. We're teetering on the brink, and you can see we're about to fall over. Because the measurement that they've always used to keep you from understanding what's about to happen is now busting open. Gold is 4,000, silver is 50. 2 weeks from now, those will be numbers in the past that are, tiny. It was only just a little while ago that silver was $20. And then it was only just a little while ago that silver was $30. It wasn't years ago. It was weeks ago. It will only be a few more weeks before silver does the things that these guys talk about. $100 silver is absolutely not even slightly crazy talk unless you're a mind-washed dweeb that has worked on Wall Street and believes that Kramer knows what the fuck he's talking about. If you work for CNBC and you believe the bullshit that's been fed to you and you turn around and disseminate that bullshit to others in the financial markets, then yeah, silver at $100, that's crazy because you've been conditioned. They've been conditioned. And if you look at the indicators, all the indicators, it's overbought. And they ain't done buying yet. And if they do drop the price, as he is explaining now, there are so many buyers waiting for the price to drop that the price isn't going to drop. All you're going to do is, spot's going to be down here, but the actual price that you end up paying by the time you pay premiums is going to be right around where it is now or more.
Do not focus on what they want you to focus on. Take a step back and look at the big picture. Look what the rest of the...
I am looking at the big picture. You guys are still looking at the tiny picture. The tiny picture is the metals and the markets. And so the big picture is the fact that the big boys, the big boys and the old families and the secret societies are actually fighting with each other. And they're trying to do it in secret because that's the one thing they all agree on is that all of this is in secret because they don't want the muggles knowing what they do and how they attain it. But some of it's spilling over. Don't worry, though. They'll cover it and paper it back over and put you back to sleep soon enough. But for the time being, the gloves are off and the steel is bare.
The world is doing, and they're saying, you guys are idiots. We're going to play this against you. We're going to stand for delivery. We're going to buy Doré. We're going to buy concentrate. We're going to buy it from every single corner of the globe until you catch on. And someone in this administration says it's time to wake up, y'all, and start bringing it home. This is a ruse. And I don't know. If I had to guess, I think you'll see silver much, much higher a year from now. Much, much higher. And yeah.
You don't like even say the words. Much. Let me translate much for you. Much, probably 4 digits. Much, possibly 5 digits. But much, not 3 digits.
doesn't mean it's going to go straight up. And I'm not telling people to buy it for that reason. I'm telling you that if the silver market and the gold market go much, much, much higher,
Oh,
that's
wait. That was the triple right there. You heard that? Much, much, much. Just like the Hawaiians, right? You get the doubles. Oh, today was hot, right? But then when he's really hot, you use the triple. Right? Today was hot. Right? You got to use that triple. He would just even use the triple. Much, much, much. Anyway, I could use a couple more triples if you'd like me to use some triples for you, for point them out. But he just went use one triple. So probably it's going to be more than hundreds, probably thousands. But for sure, high hundreds. Actually, I'm not even going to hedge it like that. It's going in 4 digits. There's no way it doesn't go 4 digits. Oh, I stay in Phoenix. The baka just rain. Today was the first sunny day. We had 5 days of rain in a row to the point where there's standing water in Phoenix. There's standing water all over the place. To the point where there's mosquitoes. Because the mosquitoes are figuring out, we better breed quickly because they don't get the option. Anyway, point being, he used a triple. Silver is going much, much, much higher.
great. But what it really means is the dollar that you call money, that melting ice cube, is getting much less and less and less in value. It's the opposite way of looking at it. Don't look.
See, if you was talking pidgin English, the dollar only going down.
Look at gold and silver going higher. Look at the currency that we call money that is used to purchase said gold and silver, which is real money.
See, because silver and gold going up.
Is buying less and less and less of it, and that is.
Oh, see, look, and the dollar buying less and less and less. See, we talking in triples over here. When you start talking in triples, cause
exactly what they want. The dollar debasement trade. That is the only way. If you give up on the reserve status and you peg the back end of the bond market to gold to have zero upfront borrowing costs, that once you bring back your manufacturing, you have to sell it in a devalued dollar. And that's exactly what this is all about. So they're throwing you off the scent again so that people don't crowd them out of ultimately what they're on it. We're sending it back to London. BS we are. We're going to continue to buy more.
I couldn't agree with him more on that one. Bullshit. They just said it's a critical metal. Clearly, Trump has been doing everything he can to get silver to come back to the United States. And now we're going to ship it off to the British? Really? Bullshit.
Watch, the COMEX numbers will show more and more coming in. Some will leave. The arbitrage is real. But the big picture is that's the dumbest thing you could do.
Yeah, there are a few that... Look at that boy. What do you think? I don't know. I don't think that's gin. Is that beer? It could be bourbon. Is he a whiskey guy? He might be a whiskey guy. Maybe he's a vodka guy. I don't know. But he's hurting.
A couple of points to address there. One would be central banks getting into the silver game. And it's actually relevant in an article that I believe was in the Financial Times. And again, this is the mainstream, right? Warning that silver is far riskier than gold because it lacks structural support from central banks. That unlike gold, silver does not enjoy the institutional backing of central banks. That silver is to a large degree a
Cut to the hot chick while he tries to compose himself.
hybrid, part industrial commodity, part monetary hedge. As an industrial commodity, it could suffer dramatically from reduced activity in the economy. And because the silver market is much smaller, as we discussed, liquidity is thinner. So we
it's
have...
all a bunch of horse crap, Michelle. Who would have a vested interest in that in the London financial
Help! Oh my God.
times? Oh yeah, the Bank of England, who's watching their whole system blow apart. Again, you're giving, in my opinion, I think we're giving.
I mean, that's a headshot, and she's just doing an interview.
All of us too much credit to the main.
Meantime, he's actually deteriorating. But he held it together pretty well.
Stream in their narrative. We've always known this. But what about Russia? What about Saudi Arabia? What about India?
To your point that they're trying to, deflect, that they're trying to get us away from consent. And the reason I bring that up is because one of the points made was that it is not an asset that enjoys structural support from central banks. So in this pattern of saying one thing and meaning another, do you think that we could see central banks going into silver? I mean, that is something that Tavi Costa, who's been a guest on the show, has said, that he does see central banks potentially purchasing silver as a next big play, as we have seen central banks.
I watched something somewhere today. Like Andy, I've watched damn much stuff. I can't remember, but somewhere, somebody was saying that the central banks are talking about adding silver to their reserves, not just gold. But they've been buying gold hand over fist. If they start buying silver hand over fist, it's because, again, it's a cutthroat business. They know that if they do this, they're going to crash the other. So what? They don't care.
Banks buying record levels of gold over the past several years and now holding more gold than U.S. Treasuries. Do you see?
Yeah, see, and that's a minor detail. Like that's a big damn deal. They now hold more gold than U.S. The barbarous relic that they told us not to buy, and that they wouldn't. When I mentioned it to some people that I know that are wealthy, on more than one person that was wealthy years ago and over the years, that maybe gold would be that's Ben. And then it turns out that gold has returned better over the last. I mean, go back and look and compare. Gold is your best performing asset. And now silver is coming along. It won't be long before silver eclipses gold. And then, as they talked about very briefly, they're trading millions of ounces of platinum that don't exist every day. Zero. Not any. At least, like I said, in the silver market, they actually are delivering silver. But in platinum, there's nothing to deliver because they don't have any, not any, zero. Soon, the silver market's going to be the same. There's not going to be any to deliver. Then what?
Central banks moving into silver.
I think they already are. I mean, look at what Vince Lance.
And I agree with that too, because they're talking about it and saying, oh, we're considering it. And if that's what they are saying now, they're already doing it.
He says 85% of the metal that is going into the central bank coffers is not being reported to the IMF.
There you have it.
And if the metal is not 999 pure, that doesn't have to be reported. Do you think that's why China's buying doré and concentrate?
Bam. Because if they buy doré and concentrate, they don't have to report it because it's not fully refined. So how much do they have? We don't know. How much did they buy? We don't know. We know that they went to Peru. That was confirmed. We know, anyway, there's multiple places where, yes, they were buying doré at spot or above spot. And they've been doing it for quite a while. They didn't just start doing this. Like I said, we have issues that people aren't talking about from the coin shop all the way back to the ground. And then there's the 1,000-ounce bars. Anyways, I mean, this is just, it's so exciting.
I wonder, perhaps. And how about Russia being the first bank to acknowledge it, but Saudi Arabia buying tons of it, and India buying between 500 and 600 million ounces over the last 6 or 7 years. And now it's a critical mineral here. I would argue that they are buying it. They're just not telling us that they're buying it. And this is why you're seeing the lowest float ever in the history of the LBMA. All of these countries have been quietly doing just that. And if things were as important and strategic and critical as many of these nations, including our own government, say they are, well, then you don't want to be open and forthright about what your intentions are. I would say it's already happening. It's just not being broadcast the way that the London Times would like it to be.
And again, my point is that they're saying, oh, it doesn't have the same level as gold because central banks are not buying it. So
Right.
it's the exact opposite messaging. You know,
The
they're
art of
trying to-
war, misdirection,
Damn.
throw your opponent off the scent. That's exactly what they do. The art of war is real.
Absolutely it
and
is in
misdirection is real.
So is the book
It's in
Five
any game
Rings.
you've ever played. I don't care if it's baseball or football or checkers or chess. Misdirection is real, and it's also real in finance. It's real in law. It's always real. And these people at the highest level do not have a vested interest in directing us to what they're doing, misdirecting us away from what they're doing so they don't get crowded out of their trade and out of their pre-positioning, because they know where the ball is going. If all you did is listen to the Jim Cramer or the
Like I said, one more time, Dime Bar, if you want peace, buy silver. Because if silver goes, quote unquote, to the moon, they can't afford to build their weapons of war. Simple.
Financial Times or any of these morons like Reuters or CNBC or Bloomberg, who have not done anything but foment divisiveness, not given us anything real in a long time, you'd probably do a whole lot better than doing that and just listen to you and your guests. I think people, their financial well-being would be markedly better than it is now.
So, Andy, I promise this would not be too long of an interview because you are on vacation. But I have to ask
And you are hungover.
you're on
as fuck.
vacation, but on the retail level, you have said that the phones have not stopped ringing, that no one is selling.
Yes.
So
I haven't been in the
Mark-
water once yet in 3 days.
you didn't
Not
make that
once.
lazy river?
Well, this
No?
afternoon. No, I didn't go. It's right down there too. The lazy river, I did not go, and I did go in the ocean for about a half hour today. I take that back, but I mean, the phones have been ringing off the hook.
See, this right here is why a long time ago in a land far, far away, actually, that's not true. Numerous times I have been with exceptionally wealthy men, like exceptionally wealthy men. And we're in the middle of fucking nowhere in the woods on Maui, and they got to take a phone call. That's no kind of life. He trying to be on vacation. He not can be on vacation. I know plenty of guys that, they don't know how to have a vacation because they're always. I know one guy. He's a multi-billionaire, and when he goes on vacation, he don't even bring a phone. If you can't handle it, right? He's got people underneath him. If you can't handle it, when I get back, and it was something that you should have been able to handle, and I have to handle it, you're not going to have a job when I get back. So lo and behold, all the shit always gets handled, and he has a lovely vacation with his wife and kids. But other than that, they're all like Andy, where they don't have a life. Unless that's their life. See, and with him, I think he loves it to the point where it doesn't matter if he's on vacation or not. He loves it. It's like me teaching math. I'll teach math on vacation. I'll go to fucking Fiji and teach math. I love teaching math. It's the most favoritist thing that I do. There's nothing I do more. Well, no, I'm going to say no. Nothing. It's the most fun thing you can do. Well, for me anyway, is teach little kids math. So it's not working. But if it is working, that's not how you want to be. You want to get to the point where you can take a fucking vacation and not be needed.
And this is the only thing I can even get close to would be Silver Squeeze or the pandemic. It's that nuts, and it goes from 0 to 100, just like that.
It's nuts.
And
is the product there? I mean, at what point is physical silver simply becoming unavailable?
and that's the question I've been asked 100 times today.
Did I mention
it's here now? We've done.
Did I mention that she has on top of everything else?
I've always done a good job at seeing through this noise. And whether it be during the pandemic,
I see, and I'm sure she's got a husband or a boyfriend or whatever, but I sure wish one of my sons was just a little older, because oh my God, having grandchildren from that one. Anyway, oh well.
or now I have literally gone out deep into my line of credit and bought everything that wasn't nailed down for months yet, buying it at next to nothing, whether it be junk silver at under spot price or buying hundreds of thousands of silver.
Translation, go to Andy Schechtman and tell him that you want his price list, not the one off the internet. You want the emailed price list, and then go to town while he still has, right? Okay. Back in my day, I remember more than one occasion where you could go to Costco and there was no water and no toilet paper. They had everything else, but they didn't have water and toilet paper for whatever fucking reason. There's all kind of conspiracy theory behind that, but it didn't bother me because I already had all the toilet paper I could possibly use, because Costco sells it in the things, and I don't use that much toilet paper. So I had an extra, I don't know, what would you call it, carton package of Costco toilet paper under the house and one in the house, which I was using. So I wasn't running down the Costco to get more toilet paper. Okay. Same thing with silver. If you're buying silver now, great, go buy silver. He's going to tell you that if this guy right here is buying silver at these prices, probably you might want to consider the same. Because I assure you that his stack is bigger than my stack will ever be. And probably the amount of silver that he bought today is probably more than my whole stack. But the idea is that this would be the time to go get it if you don't have it. Because in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, as he said, much going to be nothing there to get. Doesn't matter how many FRNs you have. Doesn't even matter if you have gold. You won't be able to swap gold for silver either, because there won't be any silver to buy. It's going to go unobtainium. I've been talking about it forever. Unless there is some kind of store someplace that we don't know about, the chances that's not a 0% chance, but it's a very low percent chance. The chance that they're out of silver and they will not be able to deliver here soon is much higher and growing by the day. And if you take a look at all the charts, and I was going to have all these things, screw it, I'm lazy. How much money is sitting in cash, quote unquote cash, in mutual funds right now, in short term, in money markets? Go look at the chart. Many people are moving to cash. Like, it's the top of the market, and you'd think that everybody's in. Not everybody's in. Many people. Plenty people have moved from being in equities or bonds even, and are just sitting in cash, not knowing what to do, because the US dollar has always been a safe haven. When you don't know what's going on, you park your money in FRNs and figure out what's going on, and then deploy the money again. Okay, a lot of these people that have parked their money in FRNs are going to figure out what's going on, and what's going on is they need to take that money and deploy it into silver. If only a very small percentage, and I mean a tiny percentage, of the many billions of dollars, and I think it's now in the trillions of dollars. That means thousands of billions of dollars are sitting on the sidelines. Take a look at Warren Buffett. How much does he have? Just him, just Berkshire Hathaway. If a tiny portion of that flows into silver, the market no can handle. It becomes unobtainium. Not to mention those other 359 people that think they own an ounce of silver and they don't.
Eagles or silver Maple Leafs, or buying as many bars as I can find, when everyone else had no interest in doing that. I did. So from a standpoint of being prepared, we're as prepared as can be. But you're right. As Rick Rule said to me on my podcast with him a week ago, still 0.5% allocation from Joe and Jane Sixpack to the Harvard Endowment Fund. But guess who just bought couple hundred million in gold. Oh, that's right. It's the Harvard Endowment Fund. Things are
By the way, the Harvard Endowment Fund is the largest private pool of money on the face of the earth by a long shot.
starting to change. It's available today, but as I've said before, no one ever believes me. They all think it's bullshit that I'm just talking my book. I'm not at all. It goes
I believe you, Andy. I believe you.
from flush to empty overnight. If 5% of the country decides they want metal, that's a tenfold increase in a market that
Brad doesn't even need to be 5%.
cannot handle it and won't be able to handle it because for the past year, the mainstream has been so anesthetized by the Mag 7 that they haven't had enough interest, whereby the dealers, the refiners, the primary distributors, the mints have not had the impetus to go and double down on inventory and production. So everyone's behind all of a sudden. I'm happy to say that I had a little bit of foresight in all of this and took a gamble and loaded up. I hedged it. So what kind of gamble is it? It's just that I would, instead of taking big distributions into the company and taking profit, I put all my profit back into the company to buy more inventory so that we're in a good shape right now. But I will tell you, within a week, if this continues, no one in the country will have stuff for immediate delivery. You'll
I want to repeat that part because it sounds vaguely important. At this rate, nobody, to include him, will have silver. That's what he's saying. And this is a guy who's got his finger on the market. This is one of the bigger bullion dealers. This is a guy that can fill $1 million orders. And he's telling you in no uncertain terms, did he fucking stutter? That they're going to be out of silver in a week at this rate.
all have to wait as more stuff comes in from refiners and mints around the world, hopefully in a timely fashion.
Wait, within a week, if this continues, if demand at this,
Why not?
Wait, within a week?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's that serious. I mean, $1 billion, $2 billion would obliterate everything that's in the Western market in terms of physical supply. It's a
And then
just-in-time market.
And then again, it talks about timelines, right? Because it's not like you can get silver that easily. So
It takes time for it to be refined and to shipped. And if you realize you got the U.S. and the Canadian Mint and a couple of refineries in the U.S., the rest is from around the globe. You got Austria, Australia, South Africa, the United Kingdom. You know, these mints, not only do they need to produce it, they need to ship it across the Atlantic Ocean. And at some point, do they say, you know, we'd rather prioritize our own people? Now, you sent me something that I can't validate, but if it's true, it's beginning to show cracks in much bigger seams, where you sent me something you saw on X that said the Perth Mint has run out of product for immediate delivery. Don't know. We'll find out. In that same article, there was a dealer who has stopped accepting trades. One of my large distributors in Miami sent me an email almost identical to that Monday morning saying, we are not taking any orders until we get a grasp on the premiums and on the spread. Because what happens is, if I go out and I buy 300,000 ounces of silver right now and pay spot for it, or near spot, in order for me to hedge it, I have to use a COMEX contract. That's $2 back a spot. That doesn't work for my hedging purposes. You understand? So that's creating a very big problem for dealers who are just sitting on the sidelines saying, well, shit, I don't want to take that risk. If I'm going to buy $5 million worth of silver and I can only hedge it for 3.8 million worth, well, what good does it exposes me to too much risk? And so that's the kind of stuff that we're seeing happen right now, Michelle. This is a very, very unusual time where normally I'd buy $5 million worth of silver in my warehouse and short $5 million on COMEX to hedge my exposure. But if that futures contract is $2 to $3 back of the spot price, we got a problem.
You got a problem.
Yep. And you know,
Yep.
the Perth Mint, as our wonderful producer Sarah Anna has told us, so the website has been experiencing a lot of technical difficulties and has been up and down consistently.
Hydration is important. Oh, by the way, you get like this, you know what would be good, Andy, is you bring a Kangen water machine with you. And if you just would have drank 8 ounces of Kangen 9.5 water before you went to sleep, you would feel top shape right now. but instead you feel like shit and you're drinking 5.5 water out of a plastic bottle. No hydration there, actually.
Instantly since that story came out. It is up at the moment, but it has been having some technical issues quite suspiciously as that story was out there. Andy, I promised I would not take too much of your time away from holiday. I don't know that I've kept my word on that. I will continue this conversation with you when you're back here in Florida in studio. Final thoughts as we wrap up here.
You're always worth the time, Michelle. I can't thank you enough for being
You can say that again.
a part of Miles Franklin and for doing what you do and just how well informed and serious you are. Final thoughts is just simply trust your gut. Look, I'm not the Peter Schiff of the world. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. He's a brilliant man. What I try to be is authentic and honest. And I'm trying to tell you that I've never seen anything like this. And I'm not saying Peter's not authentic and honest. I'm just saying my strength is in trying to convey integrity and honesty. And all I'm simply trying to say is in all the years I've done this, I have never, ever, ever seen anything quite like this. It's an environment where you're going to see consolidation because big dealers are having a hard time hedging exposure. You're going to see difficulty with product because big dealers are having a hard time hedging inventory. You're going to see, I think, some wild action as a lot of these players are going to receive margin calls.
Wild action. This is not going to be hot sideways action. This is going to be parabolic. This is going to be insane. Like, there's no words. I'm at a loss for words, and I'm at a loss at how calm he and she are when they know what's coming better than anybody.
Big players are going to receive margin calls, and things are going to start to get crazy. So what is available today may not be tomorrow. And if you're not convinced that the price is going to continue to move higher, that you might see some big pullback, take your holdings, take your money that you want to spend, and divide it into 2, 3, 4, or 5 tranches and cost average.
Yeah, this is good advice because I dumped a whole bunch of money into XRP and I should have dumped it in parts instead of dumping it all at once, because the $2.99 XRP is now, I don't know, it's not $2.99, it's $2.50. So I could be taking, I could be buying down, and then if I put an equal amount of money in, my dollar cost would be $2.75 instead of $2.99. Anyway, long story short, this is good advice, except for when it's going to the moon. Now, everybody will tell you, including him and me, that they never go straight up. There's always going to be pullbacks, but I don't think you're going to be able to take advantage, because just like before, when it was $20 and it dropped to 12, you couldn't buy any silver anywhere at any price near 12. So I don't think you're going to be able to get silver at any price anywhere under 50 anytime soon.
Smooth out the uncertainty curve. I will always shoot from the hip with you, Michelle, whether it be about our business or here with the public. And I will tell you, I have never seen anything like this. And as God
and posture, like she has good posture, like the total fucking package.
God is my witness, I made a purchase myself today in both silver and gold. I'm convinced that it's the right thing to do. What you all do with your own money is up to you, but I will tell you, in my soul and in my heart, we will look back at these numbers a year from now and say, damn it, those were the good old days.
If this guy buying silver, that actually gives me pause. Contemplate the fact. Look at his face too. Anyway, but I mean, yeah, I'd be worried too.
Yeah, I can't argue with anything that you've said there, Andy. And as always, I can personally vouch.
In fact, you look upset if you actually, because like I said, this is a man that knows what comes.
For your straightforwardness and integrity, which is something that I truly, truly value and appreciate and have experienced firsthand on many, many, many occasions, which is why my affiliation with you and with Miles Franklin made so much sense and something that I felt truly comfortable with. All right. Enjoy Aruba. We'll see you when you're back in Florida.
Thank you.
I think out of the two of them, I think Andy scored higher. I mean, anywhere this woman goes, she's going to bring success with her.
Thank you so much.
Roger that. I'm gonna go have to change my shirt because sitting out here it is hot. So I'm sorry if I'm sweating, but you were worth it, and this is worth it, and this is important. I hope it gets out quick. So
Yeah. Share this video. Like I said, make your daughters watch this. This is a role model you want. You want beautiful and smart.
people can decide for themselves. But I will look forward, Michelle, to picking up with you where we left off next week. And
She doesn't
you
try
have
to
a
be
great
cute.
rest of
She
your
doesn't
day
try to
as
be
well.
witty.
You too, Andy. Thank you so much. And as always, thank you to you, our viewers, for watching. We love hearing from you. So please leave us
won't
your
put
comments.
this
As I
video
like to
underneath
say,
that
feel
video.
free to praise, whine,
Only thing
or
is
just
she doesn't
opine.
have 3
We
hours.
do read them
What
and
are
we
we
do
at?
absorb them
3:18?
and often take some of your thoughts into consideration when coming up with our topics and question ideas.
Yeah.
Until next time, for me, Michelle McCory, and the rest
like
of the
this video
team,
was never
we'll
made,
see
and
you
I
soon.
actually may get.
Stay sovereign.
I may.
This is The Real Story with Michelle McCory.
Okay. I think I'm going to quit too. But bottom line, folks, is share this video about, not mine. I mean, the video that we were watching, because people need to know what comes, and it's coming. All right. So let's hear. We're going to stop sharing. And then we're going to call it a day. Yep. Everybody left. Okay. That's it. Yes. This video is over. Educate yourself. Educate others. E pluribus unum, Crime Stoppers. Buckle up. It's coming like a bat out of hell, and there's not a damn thing any of us can do about it but set our sails. All right. Talk to you soon.